presumably a little more complex as they figure out exactly what their level of culpability is. And so, you know, no doubt we'll hear more about their fate in the days to come.
And this is not isolated. We're seeing scenes like this play out across the country. We're seeing scenes like that right now at this moment in New York City. There was even a protest through Washington, D.C. that ended in front of the White House, with protesters shouting in front of the White House and the White House briefly being on lockdown. This is, and not just about George Floyd. It is the culmination of a string of incidents in which people are crying no justice, no peace after the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, that jogger in Georgia, Breonna Taylor, who was killed in Louisville when the police officers went into her room while serving a no-knock warrant. So there have been a lot of incidents, and George Floyd, the latest, the most visible, if you will, with that agonizing, almost 9-minute video. That is just gut-wrenching to see, as he said, I can't breathe, repeatedly, as an officer almost 9 minutes kept his knee on his neck. And as you mentioned, Dan, that officer, Derek Chauvin, today charged with third-degree murder, which, you know, 4 days later, after the video surfaced, is fairly quick in the way these things typically go. In
terms of a legal process. And you know, first-degree murder, again, we're not lawyers, but first-degree murder implies premeditation, that, you know, you went there with the intent on killing someone. So we'll have to see more about the specifics of this third-degree murder charge. But, you know, as you said, Christian, George Floyd is the latest example of African Americans being brutalized, often at the hands of police, and there have been a number of incidents. And, you know, Colin Kaepernick, the former San Francisco quarterback, raised a lot of awareness about it when he took that knee so controversially. And these protesters today actually taking a knee at one point. But it's the latest example of something that African Americans and other people of conscience around this country have complained about and talked about for many, many years. And increasingly, these incidents are caught on cell camera video, which was the case with George Floyd. And as awful as it is to watch, it's important that people see it, because it is the proof of what has happened far too often.
That action needs to be taken. Senator Kamala Harris.
Okay, we've got Kristen, take a look live on the right, some skirmishes as we look live from Sky 7.
There have been a few of these, not many, but a few. And it seems like there's a man that is on the ground there with several officers surrounding them, trying to make that arrest.
Yeah.
I didn't see what, you know, precipitated that.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I didn't, unfortunately, but, you know, presumably some shouting, pushing and shoving, who knows. But
yeah,
we have complained about and talked about for many, many years. And increasingly, these incidents are caught on cell camera video, which was the case with George Floyd. And as awful as it is to watch, it's important that people see it, because it is the proof of what has happened far too often.
That action needs to be taken. Senator Kamala Harris.
Okay, we've got Kristen, take a look live on the right, some skirmishes as we look live from Sky 7.
There have been a few of these, not many, but a few. And it seems like there's a man that is on the ground there with several officers surrounding them, trying to make that arrest.
Yeah.
I didn't see what, you know, precipitated.
As well, Larry, as you pointed out a little while ago, we have another 3 hours of light to go on this Friday evening, and another protest planned in Oakland about less than 2 hours from now.
Yeah, this is going to be potentially a very long night for law enforcement all over the Bay Area. And just to pick up on a point that Kristen made, protests in New York, Washington, D.C., Georgia, Denver, Albuquerque, Columbus, Ohio, Houston, Phoenix, Las Vegas, San Jose, later on in Oakland. We are literally watching a nation in rage over what they've seen. Now, not everybody is out there protesting, but thousands of people around the country are doing just that. One other point that I wanted to make was that in addition to the third-degree murder, there was also a second-degree manslaughter charge brought against Derek Chauvin, the officer involved in the George Floyd death. And I saw this, and I would have to have an attorney verify it, but I believe that if convicted, that the potential would be 25 years incarceration. So that's not a light sentence. Now, I assume that they could also change the charges if the evidence warranted that, and change it. But clearly, the way that the prosecution has brought this case, and many feel that there's an undercharging going on here. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. It's obviously going to take some time for all of this to get resolved. But in the meantime, we have inflammatory situations taking place literally all around the country.
Some pushing. You know, and Larry, just to bounce off something you said, there is some complaining, not complaining, but concern that it's an undercharge, and we'll have to see what the prosecutor says as they explain why they filed third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. But the big fear and the big mistake is to charge incorrectly and lose, and they don't want to do that. I mean, that's the big concern. That they make a mistake at the very beginning of the case that allows the defense to argue a technicality or a mistake was made in the charging.
You're seeing the firing of more rubber bullets at people, and people are backing up right now. As we look at this still tense situation with police seemingly to be on the move in terms of pushing people farther and farther back. Larry, did you hear this, that Colin Kaepernick, who of course so famously took a knee and called a lot of attention to Black Lives Matter, he actually has offered to pay for the legal defenses, legal fees for the protesters, all of them, in Minneapolis?
I didn't see that, but it's not surprising because Colin has been very outspoken on this matter, and he does have the resources to assist. So, in fact, when we get a break, I want to check some of his social media accounts just to see the latest and his take on what's going on. But again, this is the same thing that he was protesting against years ago, and a lot of people kind of misunderstood what the point of his protest was in terms of thinking that he was being un-American. He wants to see a better America where your color does not matter in terms of how you are dealt with, whether it is in terms of protests, whether it's in terms of jobs, whether it's in terms of all sorts of possibilities, but in particular when it comes to police brutality. And so, you know, Dan, just to pick up on one of the points that you made earlier, the one thing that that there will be a wealth of in this case when it finally gets into the court system is an overwhelming amount of video, and that we didn't have that in years past, and so now everybody has a cell phone, and you hear the line, racism isn't getting worse, it's getting filmed. And that will certainly be brought to bear in this case, no doubt, because you had people that were videotaping on their phones from all sorts of angles. So there's going to be an overwhelming amount of evidence in this case.
Yeah, that's a great point, Larry. And you know, as we all know, for many, many years, people we all know, other people we don't know, and you heard story after story of treatment directed at African Americans that was unjust and unfair, and there were a great many people that found it hard to believe that it could be that bad until suddenly the advent of all of this cell phone video. And is it happening more, or are we just seeing it more? And we're seeing it sometimes in its raw and brutal nature, and it's shocked the conscience of the country, and we've seen this yet again in the George Floyd case. You know, Rodney King was another example that touched off a firestorm around the country, and decades later, George Floyd is another example of what so many in this country have said for so long is a genuine and serious and very deep-seated problem.
You guys mentioned the use of cell phones and the role they play. Certainly, they've been a benefit in terms of having evidence, and where people whose words may not have been believed in the past, when there's video to show for it, that does create action. However, sometimes I also do worry whether just having the video itself causes people to behave differently, and whether there will be some people, and I'm sure it's not many, who will act differently, perhaps in a way that's more antagonistic on either side because of the existence of a cell phone.
Well, I think that's a fair point. We know from the, we've seen it happen in Berkeley with the protests a couple of years ago with that conservative speaker whose name escapes me at the moment, Milo.
Yiannopoulos,
yeah. Protesters, the professional protesters, we call them, the people that show up to cause problems, would deliberately antagonize the police with cell phones, recording for the purpose of getting that video and for creating that kind of response.
Milo Yiannopoulos.
Milo Yiannopoulos, that's it.
We've been on the air too long,
I was close.
Dan. We were on the air too long. That's my excuse.
Yeah, I was good. Well, here we are about 3 hours now, almost to the minute, since this protest started in San Jose at City Hall, then moved to 101 southbound at Alum Rock, where they blocked traffic for about an hour or so. Then about 2/3 of them left, seemingly on their own, but police were encouraging them to move on, but they weren't forced away. And then the other third left the freeway and then moved onto the streets of San Jose, and in large numbers, and you see here several hundred people. Then it sort of seemed to dissipate a little bit, except for a handful of, not a handful, but probably 100 more people who stayed right in the faces of police and would not move despite orders to do so. And then we started to see things begin to escalate with more skirmishes and arrests and the firing of some tear gas and rubber bullets at that point. But thankfully, there has been no widespread, out-of-control outbreak of any kind of violence on either side, just skirmishes and arrests. A handful.
I'm sorry, I'm just taking a moment, Dan. It's a lot, even for us, I think, to see this play out today. And like everybody else, we are optimistic that this will resolve itself peacefully after all the viewpoints have been made, but we're also just a little bit worried. And I just want to bring up a tweet that just came in from one of our viewers, and it kind of took my breath away because it's a little emotional, but they said, "Thank you to us for our perspective of reporting. It is empathetic and nonpartisan. It's informative and very helpful to hear someone reporting like that." So
well, that's nice to hear.
I'm not saying it to pat ourselves on the back, but I'm feeling very emotional as I watch this happening in our Bay Area. And for people to also appreciate that we're trying so hard to balance a very delicate type of sensitive reporting in which people could interpret your views to be political one way or the other, when we are just trying to be unbiased and bring the facts to people and let them decide as they will. It really is gratifying.
Yeah. Well, Kristen, and you're an expert at that, and we all take that responsibility so very seriously, and it's always our wish to be balanced in every way we possibly can. I'm sure we make mistakes, but we never intend to.
And
this is an emotional situation. Hey,
we're not perfect.
No, and like I always say, none of us got ordained. We just got hired. So, but we do try to. Because it is an emotionally charged event on both sides, and the police have a very difficult job to do, and the protesters have every right to be outraged at what they saw in Minneapolis. So here we are again live, Sky 7. Yep. Larry, you're you know what?
Dan,
Larry, go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, I just had a couple points because I wanted to confirm what Kristen had mentioned earlier. And yes, Colin Kaepernick, the former 49ers quarterback, has offered to help with the defense for any of the people protesting in Minneapolis. I just want to read to you his pinned tweet from a day ago, and maybe for some who don't understand exactly why this is taking place, and I know that seems like a stretch, but I'm sure there are people that are going to look at this and think these people have no business being in the streets, but maybe this helps to explain it. This is from Kaepernick's Twitter account. He says, "When civility leads to death, revolting is the only logical reaction. The cries for peace will rain down, and when they do, they will land on deaf ears. Because your violence has brought this resistance. We have the right to fight back. rest in power, George Floyd. That is from Colin Kaepernick. Another note on the DA in Minneapolis, Mike Freeman. He did say more charges were possible and that the investigation into the other 3 officers involved in the death of George Floyd would continue. But to quote him, authorities felt it was appropriate to focus on the most dangerous perpetrator, and that person was obviously the officer Derek Chauvin, who had his knee on the neck of George Floyd. But Dan, you know, you brought up Rodney King, and that is decades ago, and you know, you could really make the case that we have not progressed very far at all, and some would make the case that we've gone backwards. But it struck me, you kind of brought to mind a conversation that I had recently with one of my friends, and this seems so sad, and just to be blunt, as a middle-aged white guy, I don't think of this, but if you're a black American, it does cross your mind. I have friends who have sat down to teach their young children, children of color, how to be arrested. In other words, what if you get pulled over by the police? What you should do, what you should not do. Put your hands on the steering wheel. All these sorts of things that you and I might not think about because we don't feel threatened necessarily, but they're worried about their kids, and because we've seen so many of these cases, and it's just such a tragedy.
Larry, I used to talk to Eric Thomas about that all the time when we did the morning show together. We talked about how he has advised, you know, his kids, and how he himself would conduct himself when he's pulled over. And, you know, we joked a little about that, about the reaction when I'm pulled over for a speeding ticket versus him. And but beneath that joke is a very serious, tragic matter, and one that continues to play out, and leading to ultimately what we're seeing here today.
Yeah, it's a different experience.
It's sad.
It's sad. It's a different experience. And then we should point out, you know, most police officers are good, honest, decent, hardworking people and treat people fairly, but many don't. And there can be a bias in the system, and it is a different experience if you're African American in this country. And in many, many instances, it just is. And that's what this frustration is all about, that you're seeing on the streets of San Jose and around the country. And ABC 7 News reporter Amanda Del Castillo is with us as well, live in our San Jose bureau. Amanda, you there? You can kind of walk us through the
end of justice and equity and true
powerful, powerful scene here in downtown San Jose. Today's effort was organized mainly through social media. We came across several posts of people inviting others to protest the death of George Floyd through marching through downtown San Jose. We know that started at 2 this afternoon, attracting hundreds to City Hall. At that point, we hadn't witnessed any violence or vandalism. Instead, a diverse group of protesters who made their way down East Santa Clara Street. Then after 3, that group of more than 100 protesters entered the on-ramp onto southbound 101 at the Santa Clara Street exit. This is near Alum Rock Avenue. Now, from Sky 7, we witnessed frustration between between several drivers, I should say, and a few protesters. That ended with a protester smashing the driver's rear window. Shortly after, another confrontation led to someone smashing their skateboard through the rear window of another car. Now, I have to note that these 2 instances were not reflected of the early crowds that we were seeing. They were, for the most part, calm and peaceful. Then at 4:15, those protesters moved off the freeway and have since made their way back to City Hall. It's the scene that we're seeing now. It was easy to notice that once they moved onto the streets, those protesters, that things began to become a little more tense. And we've heard from my colleague Dan Noyes as he's on the front line talking about what he's experiencing, talking about what he's seeing, and talking about that clash between law enforcement officers and those protesters. We're reporting from a safe distance this afternoon. This is away from downtown San Jose, but we are keeping our eye on all of the development, as you have been through Sky 7 as well. We'll continue to do that as it grows later in the day. I'm reporting live in San Jose. Amanda Del Castillo, ABC 7 News.
Okay, Amanda, thanks very much. And our Dan Noyes is close to the action. He was right there safely along the police line, right with protesters. We've been hearing from him, and we'll hear from him a little later on as we continue here, Kristen.
And somebody else who was in the middle of the action earlier on is actually State Assembly member Ash Kalra, whose district includes San Jose. Thanks for joining us.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
I understand you were part of the protest earlier on and things were peaceful. Talk to me about you, an elected official, being out there with the people today.
Well, it was important for me to be out there. I was there for about the first hour as there was a march throughout downtown San Jose, and then when I reached back to City Hall, as they were heading past City Hall, down Santa Clara Street is when I left. And, you know, it was a very diverse crowd, a lot more age, although there were different ages there, definitely youth-oriented, youth-driven. And it was important for me to be there. I mean, look, the whole country right now is confused, it's emotional, there's anger. And I think that we have to come together and unite and recognize that we have to do better as a society, as a nation. And I think that a lot of what's happening right now is exposing a lot of issues we have in our society, not just in terms of what happened with Mr. Floyd, but the economic angst that's happening, particularly in the African-American community. I think we're seeing a lot of this bubble up together that's causing so much tension, and understandably so.
Assemblyman, you made a point that it was a very diverse crowd, and it was diverse in terms of age and gender and ethnicity. Very interesting to see that this was very much a unified but very diverse group of protesters today.
Yeah, and I actually knew a lot of people that were there, saw a lot of friends there that are active in community work, a couple other elected officials, people that are just, you know, trying to come together. And we saw a really great part of San Jose today as we marched around downtown and saw people coming together. And really, a lot of it is supporting our youth. I mean, our youth are hurting right now. They're in pain, and I think that we need to listen.
Yes, Assemblyman, I'm sorry, but right now what we're seeing is protesters kind of going into what appears to be either a construction zone. I don't know if you know that area well, but it was, you know, they're going in. Don't know what they're doing there, but clearly they removed a fence or barrier and probably should not have done that and cannot legally do that. So as you watch this, as you start to see sort of an escalation, does that disturb you? Because clearly these are not the people with the same kind of mood and tone that you had earlier this afternoon.
Well, I mean, I think that, and as I'm watching it, it seems like it's the construction site across the street from City Hall that's been under construction for the last year or two. And, you know, we don't want to see any type of destruction of property or any violent acts, but I think that we also have to put more emphasis on the action that created the reaction. You know, why are people angry? Why are young people acting out? It's not about excusing behavior. It's about understanding behavior. And so, you know, no one wants to see it. But I think that if we don't question it and if we don't talk to our young people about why they're angry, if we don't talk to the African-American community in a genuine way, not just let this pass and then on to the next big event that happens where there's frustrations, but really genuinely get to the root of the systemic racism that exists in all levels of our society, then we're losing an opportunity. And so, yes, let's make sure we create a safe environment today. Let's make sure we try to make sure that all the protesters get home safely, the police officers get home safely, but let's not end it there. Let's make sure we continue to ask the important questions as to why people are angry, why young people are enraged, why the African-American community feels like they're not being heard once again.
Assemblyman Ash Kalra, thank you very much for joining us. We're looking at Sky 7. Some determined construction workers came back and pushed the fence back up and have kept the protesters from grabbing anymore. They were grabbing like big 4x4s or some timber of some kind. Well, you know, Assemblyman, I know that you don't want to see things escalate here or anywhere else around the country. It's understandable that there is so much anger, frustration, and rage about what's going on, but certainly vandalism and violence won't help.
Well, no, I mean, it's never helpful to be violent, but we have to, again, understand where that anger is coming from and that emotion. I think all of us are feeling emotional. I've been watching your newscasts over the last hour, and I know how emotional all of you are getting, understandably. It's a painful moment for all of us and for our nation. And so, yes, you don't want to see that kind of violence or that kind of vandalism, but I still think that it will lose the opportunity to understand it more deeply if we don't really get to why the anger is there and why the emotion is there. And so you can do both things. You can create a safe environment. You can, ensure or try to make sure that people aren't acting out violently or aren't vandalizing. But I think we have to understand what this reaction is about.
Sure.
What are they reacting to? What is our country reacting
Altercations
to right now?
with a small group of people and San Jose police. We have seen about a dozen people being detained. So far, no fires or any damage that we've been seeing.
Bring you up to speed on the situation. The protests not just here in the Bay Area, as Raj just mentioned. In fact, there have been demonstrations sparking across the country. The epicenter of it all, Minneapolis, where George Floyd was killed on Memorial Day. Earlier today, hundreds of protesters shut down a freeway in Minneapolis, demanding justice for Floyd. Afterward, the Minneapolis mayor announced a mandatory curfew that started about 32 minutes ago at 6 o'clock. That curfew remains in place in all public places from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. until Monday. The National Guard now patrolling the streets, asking protesters to stay in their homes. We also now have the booking photo. This is the officer that put his knee on Floyd. This is the officer that has been charged. He has been charged with third-degree murder and also a manslaughter charge. He's 44 years old with the Minneapolis Police Department, one of 4 officers fired immediately after the death of George Floyd.
Let's go back now to our NBC Bay Area Sky Ranger. These are live shots, a live look now in downtown San Jose. And we've seen really the moving of this crowd along, pushed by the San Jose Police Department, the CHP, and the Sheriff's Department, all working in conjunction here. That is City Hall, that tall building you see right in the foreground of your camera with that dome. That is San Jose City Hall. In fact, we spoke with the mayor about an hour ago. At that point, he was in his office. Presumably, he's still there watching all of this unfold in his city. They are moved now. You can see now the people starting to move down toward First Street, so down toward to where the big restaurants are, San Pedro Square and St. James Park, and you can see some of the flashbangs and all sorts of things being thrown, the projectiles thrown from the protesters towards the police department and vice versa. So it is getting a little tense. What started off as a relatively peaceful march, there have been pockets of this, a lot of tension here between the two sides.
Raj, I think what we're seeing right now is we're starting to see more of those. We saw some of those individuals using more fire extinguishers, and then we just saw another flashbang by police. Let's bring in our own Scott Budman, who's on the ground right there by City Hall. Scott, bring us an update on what you're seeing. Okay, we're having some audio problems with Scott. Do you hear Scott, Raj? Because I don't.
Scott, no, we don't hear him. We'll get his audio geared up there in just a second. It's obviously a fluid situation with our technical capabilities, and then of course a safety situation. So we'll get Scott up and running. We also have Damien Trujillo has been reporting with us, and Sergio Quintana. And now you can just see back and forth as the police department shoot those canisters. Then some of the protesters, what seems to be, are sending it right back towards the police line. So it's this back and forth with this small group of the bad actors here. Let's go back now to NBC Bay Area.
They couldn't hear us.
Tell us where you are. We believe we have your audio issues resolved. Tell us where you are and what you're seeing.
Oh, man, I thought my mom was calling at the time. Yeah, hi.
Take it away. You're live on the newscast right now. Tell us where you are and what you're seeing, Scott.
All right, well, Raj, we are at Santa Clara and 4th Street. We're right outside City Hall. We are hearing the flashbangs. We're hearing all sorts of protesting. A lot of what you were talking about of people coming down is what we're hearing now, and what we're seeing. People are coming down from 5th Street over here to 4th Street and even down to 3rd Street. A lot of the streets around here are actually closed off by protesters. Can you hear me, Raj?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can. Keep going, Scott. Make sure you're in a safe spot. Keep going. Might have lost Scott. We'll try to get back to him.
So, yeah, so we lost Scott.
Yeah, you see where he is, Jessica? He's now just on the...
Again, Jessica, sorry about that.
Go ahead, Scott. We can hear you.
Sorry about that, Raj. So let me tell you again, now we're starting to see a lot of people all of a sudden running down here. A lot of movement all at once. We're not really sure why. But what was a peaceful gathering is all of a sudden very intensely moving down here, Santa Clara Street, moving past City Hall. We are at 4th Street right now, and we just saw dozens of people running toward us here on 4th Street. And again, there's so many people here, we can't tell exactly why they were running toward us. Now they've stopped. There is a big crowd on this side of City Hall. It's the opposite side from where you were hearing from Damien and Sergio. And as you can see, the protest seems to be moving this way, so that people are now assembling outside the front of City Hall. A lot of activity, a lot of what you're hearing are not only horns honking, but motorcycles revving up, trying to cause all sorts of noise. That's how it's been here. Just across the street, someone is scaling a light pole right now. And for some reason, the running has stopped, but we're still seeing a lot of people gathered here outside City Hall. And now the streets have been cut off, so if you're trying to get downtown, anywhere around Santa Clara and 4th and 3rd, right now traffic is at a standstill and nothing is going on except the protest, which has now moved from the front of City Hall out into the streets. And Raj and Jess, that's where it is right now, and people are gathering out here as we speak.
All right, Scott, stay where you are. We want to get back to you in just a few minutes to give us an update. We have on the phone with us, back with us, is the mayor of San Jose, Sam Liccardo. Mayor Liccardo, are you still at City Hall, and what has changed in your perspective in these last 40 minutes? Because we've seen a lot change here in 40 minutes, but in terms of your perspective, what has changed?
Well, Raj, there's a very small number of protesters that are facing the line of police officers. It looks like about 5 or 6. And then most of the people who were attending the rally are really about a third of the block back behind them. Encourage those folks who are at the front simply to disperse and go home safely.
Leadership is a big role in all this. What would you like to tell the people of San Jose watching this, maybe wanting to come down to join this protest?
I think it's important for everyone to recognize that there's absolutely no good that can become of more people joining in here. The police have already determined this is not a lawful assembly because there has been violence. We've had an assault against an officer who's been sent to the hospital. We've had damage, certainly to the city, and that means the officers have to step in. And when the officers have to step in, it's important for everyone simply to stay home and stay safe.
Mayor,
we've been doing a good, yes.
Mayor Liccardo, can you tell us anything else about that officer that was hurt? We saw very clearly the video of an officer that was moved, and now you just alluded to that. Do you know the extent of that officer's condition at this point?
I know the officer's being treated at Valley Medical Center, but I don't have any update on the officer's condition.
Liccardo, any chat with other civic leaders or religious leaders or cultural leaders this evening of moving forward if this does escalate?
Yeah, I've been certainly exchanging texts with various folks, and we're doing all we can to ensure that we can reach out to trusted community leaders who can hopefully step in if we need them to. But what we're really hoping is that everyone recognizes that the better part of valor right now is simply going home. There's probably some members of the crowd in the middle of Santa Clara Street right now with a car and several objects. And so obviously it's that kind of behavior that's going to just draw this thing out longer and longer. And we know the police have been very patient. They're doing all they can to avoid any provocation. But that kind of tactic, the barricading and so forth, isn't helpful.
Yeah. Mayor Liccardo, are you concerned about potential damage to, some of the buildings and some of the, restaurants or anything downtown, given the fact that these businesses have already suffered such huge economic losses during the shelter at home, and that now there is the potential for more damage that some of these businesses might suffer?
Well, certainly we know that the businesses are hanging on by a thread in many cases, but I'm most concerned about just folks being safe. We don't want anyone else injured. We certainly don't want to see any loss of life. And I hope that everybody on both sides of this feels the same way. I know the police officers are doing absolutely everything they can to de-escalate this.
You alluded to that, what's happening right there in the middle of Santa Clara Street, right outside of your office. You probably can see it, that car with some other objects and some newspaper bins. Presumably, they might try to set this on fire. When's the last conversation or text or communication you had with Chief Eddie Garcia?
It was probably about
protesters parked that car there, and they brought some newspaper stands to try to make a blockade. This is just before 4th Street on Santa Clara Street. There's some protesters who are ducking behind that car. Boy, the driver's getting out. I saw some of the projectiles going through the passenger side window, and that driver has now cleared from the car. This is going to be an issue. The protesters are trying to make their stand right here. They're now putting other trash cans there. And clearly the police are not going to let that stand for very long, I would imagine, Dan.
Dan?
No, I wouldn't think so.
For me, this evokes, I'm a musical theater fan, and I can't help but think of Les Miserables when you see a barricade go up like that, a blockade that people throw up. And it does worry me, Dan, because that tells me they are prepared for more serious back and forth and need that barricade to stay behind. What else are they bringing over? Let's see, they've got newspaper stands. What else do you see, Dan?
Right, they have some newspaper stands. There's trash cans, and that car is the main impediment, obviously. And I see a couple of protesters that are ducking behind that vehicle, pretty close. They're hiding directly behind that. Oh, I'm looking at now at the other side. That the vehicle definitely was set up for the protest. There are protest signs on this side, which is away from the police officers. But I tell you, that is the place you don't want to be, behind that vehicle. This afternoon, the fire from the rubber bullets and the flashbangs are typically going straight down the street, generally. So that is really the center of the danger zone in terms of being a protester. If you want to take a rubber bullet, it's going to be right in front of where the police are.
Right.
And now there are more people who are gathering behind that car. And boy, I don't want to see how this plays out.
No, and you run the risk of getting hit in the face by one of those rubber bullets or the eye. It can be very dangerous, as you've pointed out, Dan. And it's interesting. What we don't know are these people that we're looking at now with the car, were they part of that protest on Highway 101 earlier? Are these other protesters that come in, as we've seen so often in the Bay Area, come in and join protests and escalate deliberately with police?
Well, it seems to me, Dan, that these people were prepared. Now, I don't know whether they were out there on 101 earlier, but that car was definitely part of the protest. They prepared to be part of the protest. And I'm trying to get a little close to see what's written on the vehicle, but I'm not going to chance it. I'm not going to get that close.
No, I don't.
But they definitely were prepared. And boy, there are people just standing up right in the line of fire of those projectiles, and I just don't get it. And I got to say, Dan, that you make a good point again about watching out for your eyesight, for your eyes, and some of those projectiles we're missing well high of the
if we don't get it, if we don't get it,
typically you're supposed to be firing at someone's midsection or below.
To sting them, but not injure.
Dan, they just brought in another piece of, is that a dumpster? Something they just pushed into their barricade which seems to be very heavy duty, that they're uprighting right there.
Yeah, that's actually some sort of a fixture. Looks like it's a display cabinet or a refrigerator. From my vantage point, it's not a box. It looks like it's got a cooling unit.
I think you're right.
And we're going to keep showing what's happening there in San Jose, but we also want to take our viewers briefly to Oakland because a protest is about to start there, and people are starting to gather, and Eric Thomas is there with them. Obviously, watching what's happening in San Jose, Eric, that's got to make Oakland police quite nervous.
And they are, and they've been saying that. I think what's going on here, though, is there are two protests that we were told there would be one at 5 o'clock. That is this one, which has been growing over the past hour. Maybe 100 people there standing peacefully with signs and chanting right on Broadway and right in front of City Hall. Now, if you look over here where I am, come back over here, Rick. That's not the protest people are concerned about. They're concerned about the one that's supposed to get underway at 8 o'clock. That's why all along this street, you'll see buildings like this with their windows already boarded up.
A few dozen people marched down Oakland streets yesterday, blocking several intersections, demonstrating their pain and frustration over the death of George Floyd during an arrest by Minneapolis police. That's as rowdy as it got yesterday. But today, police warn things could be different.
They just said that there could be some damage, and so we wanted to take precaution, that's all.
Danny Kaiser is chef at Sheba Ramen, a small restaurant across the street from City Hall. They've already boarded up the glass doors, and Kaiser says he supports the protest.
Another grave injustice has occurred, and people need to get out and talk about it. I hope that we're not caught in the crossfire.
Another business is taking a different approach. Joshua Chase owns Have a Heart, a marijuana dispensary across the street from Oakland Police Headquarters. He's put these handwritten signs in the window letting people know it's a black-owned business run by a kid from East Oakland. He's hoping that will deter any trouble. Still, he's planning for a long night.
So we're going to have a lot of staff here tonight. I'm actually going to be running security myself until very late this morning.
Oakland Interim Police Chief Susan Manheimer says the department supports the right to protest what happened in Minneapolis, but she has this warning.
If I could just remind everyone that OPD will have to take enforcement action if, in fact, there is damage to property or to the safe and peaceful demonstration of their voices.
Now, once again, we believe this to be a separate protest for the one that is scheduled for 8 p.m. tonight. A flyer from an unknown group has been circulating online about that later protest at 8 p.m. saying vengeance for George Floyd. I think that is what has a lot of people concerned. That's why Oakland police say they are ready to respond and to call in additional help from Alameda County Sheriff's Office and other surrounding municipalities in mutual aid if they are needed. They fervently hope that that won't be needed this evening. And of course, here at ABC 7 News, we'll be keeping track of what's going on here in Oakland, as well as what you've been seeing going on in San Jose today. And we'll bring that to you at 11 o'clock.
That are obviously trying to provoke. There have been a lot of fireworks being thrown at the officers. There are various objects being thrown at them, and the officers are showing a lot of restraint. I think they're going to wait this out and be as patient as they need to be to ensure everybody goes home safe.
But, you know, what is interesting, Sam, they did make a decision to kind of begin to move these protesters and take control of intersections again. Do you have any idea why they decided to do that?
Well, the primary focus is just to disperse the crowd as much as possible. You don't want a concentration of folks when there are a few that are engaged in provocative antics. And so I can't speak to the specific direction of travel. I know they've been pushing them to the west, but it seems to be the easiest way to get folks to move on and hopefully either get back in their cars or walk home.
Okay.
Mayor Liccardo, I'm sorry if I missed it, but you said the extent of it was one injury?
To an officer?
To an officer that you know?
To a police officer, yes.
Do you know about just protesters as well, injuries there?
I don't have any reports yet.
Okay.
I have not seen any, and I have not seen anyone, for example, taken to an ambulance or a fire truck.
You know, and Sam, I know as mayor, you're in close touch with the police. Give people, I know the police are handling this in the moment, but give us a sense of what you do as mayor in coordination with the police department on an evening like this.
Well, my job is to let the professionals do their job, and this is what they've trained for. Chief Garcia and the rest of the team understand what their job is, and that is to do everything possible to ensure nobody gets hurt. And that's what they're going to do. I have a lot of confidence in them. My job is to stay alert to everything that's happening and ensure that we can get information out to the public. And obviously, if there's any resources that are needed, if there's any help from other departments, DOT, Public Works, anybody else, then obviously we want to make sure everybody's pushing together.
Now, at one point, Mayor, we saw some protesters try to enter a construction site, and they, in fact, got in before construction workers sort of pushed them back out. Have you been in coordination with the downtown business district to take preventive
Is this the only street corner where there's a lot of activity? Is this the only street corner where there's a lot of activity? Is it a lot?
A lot.
Oh, let's go there. Do you guys want to go? Is it boring there? Or?
No.
Do they fight a lot?
Yeah, go.
Okay, I'm going. They're fighting a lot at Barclays. Let's go watch the fight. Come on. Oh, okay. Now, huh? Hey, what's up, man? How are you? I'm just heading up to Times Square. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yep. I'm just heading up to Times Square, and I'm just trying to explore New York, show everybody the landmarks and everything, and you know. Okay. All right. Let's head. Come on. Dream Team, right? 2.0. Let's do it.
If we was walking down the street with
income tax.
Fuck out of here. No, you're standing there with your back note. 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 You're pussy. You're pussy. You're pussy. You take your badge and go enough for me to talk. Take your badge and go enough for me to talk.
Best nigga, fucking tough guy. Put that shit down and see the tough guy.
Fuck out of here.
Watch your mouth. Fuck out of here. Vest on. You see everybody stuff going on.
What's wrong with y'all?
You serious, my nigga? Are you fucking serious, bro? Bro.
They're just standing there and these guys want to fight. I don't know.
Put your badge in, go down and talk.
Oh, you got the tooth.
No, let him say. You don't want to. He said he's going to be problems.
I'm going to keep talking.
He's speaking down my man's going to be problems. It's going to be fucking problems. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Y'all niggas standing here, they're protesting around the corner.
Yes.
But y'all standing here with batting them.
It's so bad, bad.
What y'all waiting for?
Very bad, very bad.
What the fuck y'all waiting for?
So bad.
Huh? What y'all waiting? Put that badge, that gun, all that shit down. Just take your badge off. Fuck the gun. Fuck the gun. Put your badge up and pop that shit. You and fucking you. Put that shit down. Put your badge, take your badge off because we touch your badge. It's not really fucking off.
Hello. How are you?
Fuck them guys.
That's right. Look at your life. You know why?
You don't even have a fucking life, bitch. You don't even have a life, bitch. You don't even have a fucking life, bitch. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. No, you a tough guy. You stand there with your bat. You a tough guy. You stand there with your bat. No, it's not your job to stand there with a bat. No, it's not your job.
Stop talking.
No, it's not your fucking job. No, it's not your job to stand there with your bat. No, it's not your fucking job.
They are how is it bad, man?
Act like you at work.
It's so bad.
You at work? I'm at work. Act like it.
It's so bad.
Have a nice day.
Shut up.
How is it you doing your job with your bat now?
So bad.
You tell me, get the fuck out of here.
I'm about to.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
It's okay. He will end his. He's on the clock.
Yes.
And once he's off the clock, it's okay.
No, but when they're on their clock, they jump in their car and go to the fucking neighborhood.
Oh no.
None of them is not from out here. None of them.
Bad.
None of them is from out here.
So bad, man.
None of them is from out here. This motherfucker can't live out here. You can't live out here. You and fucking you cannot live out here.
I've lived here
for
1 month.
Come to East New York, bitch. Come to East New York, bitch. Come to East. Y'all better hope that we don't fucking right in East New York. Because we right there, y'all motherfucker feel it. I'm telling you, exact bitch ass nigga.
Okay. I said stay right there.
B, let's go.
Okay. So when I talk to you right, you remember.
B, let's go.
You look to him.
Let's go.
See who's making noise.
Let's go. Come to East New York, bitch ass nigga. Keep your badge and everything. Come to East New York. Come here.
Good job. 8 hours shit.
On-ramp right there. So the cops, as Damien alluded to, they've got some tacticians who know what to do with these crowds. The unknown here is what's on the other side. So we have this barrier here between 4th and 3rd. So what kind of police presence exists at 3rd and 2nd and 1st? And are the cops who are now at 4th and 5th and that are compressing toward the west, are there others at 1st and 2nd who are trying to condense the crowd to the east? And if they can do that and they can get the crowd down to just a block or two, well, then they have a pretty good hold on the situation and then can disperse it even more and then end with, oh yeah, now there we go, we can see it. So now
you can see it on the other end there.
Damien is looking to the west there, and so you can see the cops on the opposite side here compressing it. So Damien, if you can hear me, is that what's happening here? You see the other side of the line where the cops are compressing what's happening, getting the crowd down to just a block or two.
Yeah, that's a great observation and a great way to describe it. The police officers have moved in this direction from 1st Street. So right now, the perimeter, they've managed to block in the crowd in between 3rd Street and 4th Street in San Jose. That is where the crowd is right now. So the hope is that instead of heading toward 1st Street, like they were told, that they'll go left and right, north and south on 3rd Street, and in that way leave the downtown area. So you do have 2 perimeter lines, as you mentioned, as you observed, one on 3rd and Santa Clara Street, the second line and on 4th and Santa Clara Street. Those police lines are converging at this point, and you see the crowd, protesters telling the crowd to move and go south on 3rd Street.
That's what it's not your fucking job.
They are
seems to be
bad, man. It's so bad.
And head south.
It's so bad.
Head over in that direction.
How is it you doing your job with your mouth now? You tell me, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out.
It's okay. He will end this. He's on the clock.
Yes.
And once he's off the clock, it's okay.
No, but when they're on the clock, they jump in their car and go to the fucking neighborhood.
Oh no.
None of them is not from out here. None of them.
Bad.
None of them is from out here.
So bad, man.
None of them is from out here. This motherfucker can't live out here. You can't live out here. You and fucking you cannot live out here.
I've lived here for 1 month.
Come to East New York, bitch. Come to East New York, bitch. Come to East. Y'all better hope that we don't fucking right in East New York. Because we right there, y'all motherfucker feel it. I'm telling you, exactly. Bitch ass nigga.
Okay.
I said stay right
there. B, let's go.
Okay. So when I talk to you right, you remember.
B, let's go.
You look to him.
Let's go.
He was making noise.
Let's go. Come to East New York, bitch ass nigga. Keep your badge and everything. Come to East New York.
I talk to you right, you remember.
B, let's go.
You look to him.
Let's go.
He was making noise.
Let's go. Come to East New York, bitch ass nigga. Keep your badge and everything. Come to East New York. Come there.
What happened? What happened?
Nothing. Keep walking. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you.
A really great de-escalation tactic is to have Americans have this like general flow of music.
Hey, you guys, listen. You stood up for yourselves. You stood up for yourselves. You're good.
No, we have to, bro.
Yep.
Ain't no police supposed to be standing there with bad notes or gun.
Right?
None.
Yes.
I have an 11-year-old
Monk has donated $10. Yaman, Carl, my nigga.
Females and everything.
Yes.
So do I wait till my daughter's old enough, or you catch her, you think she's doing something wrong, and you beat the fuck out of her, or something, or shoot her, and find out she's doing nothing wrong? When I got the chance as a father to deal with you now,
okay, I do it.
That's important, bro.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great night.
You do the same, man.
Yes. Thank you so much. It's crazy, man. And this is power here. This is not something we do anywhere else. This is power. Yes. Ah! What happened?
Oh shit!
What happened? Why are you guys running? What happened? It was like
Everybody's still running?
It's like a hello. It's a stampede, you know. It's just like there's like a bull in Spain, you know. It's like an avalanche. They're running from Action Kid. Oh my God. Hello. Why are they running? Why did they run, man?
Huh?
Why did they run?
Oh, the cops are running, chasing us.
Oh, okay. Are you guys going to Target or Walmart later? Okay.
Where'd Andy go?
He's out of the car. He's right here.
Let's go! Fuck y'all! Let's go! Keep moving!
Can you chant something else, maybe?
For what? That's the problem right there! Hey, come on, let's move! That's the problem right there! Let's move, guys! Let's move! Let's move! Let's move! Come on, let's move! Let's move! Let's move, let's move, let's move. They are irrelevant. They are irrelevant. Let's move.
They are the ones who are killing people. They're not irrelevant.
Let's move. These officers are irrelevant to our fight. They are irrelevant to our fight.
Subscribe and unsubscribe to get rid of the text. Hello. Hi. What news channel is that? Oh, I remember you. How are you, man? How's it going? High five. Okay.
$3. Kill niggers, 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 kill niggers.
Get your fucking hands off him.
Kill niggers, kill niggers, kill
No,
niggers,
I'm okay.
kill niggers,
I'm not,
kill
I'm just...
niggers, kill niggers, kill
Guys,
niggers.
I am cool. I told my other fight. I never fought in my life. Hi, subscribe and unsubscribe, please, to remove the text. It's so fucking annoying. Hello. Oh, it's this guy again. It's this guy right here.
Remember that. You put your hands on me.
This guy is the ultimate.
Remember that. Just remember that. What goes around comes around. Remember that. You put your hands on me. I didn't put my hands.
I think this man is homeless, to be honest.
Remember that. Just remember that. I don't forget the face. Remember that. I don't need it. Remember the face. You put your hands on me. Don't tell me relax. You put his fucking hands on me. Why you won't tell me relax? He pushed me. If somebody had pushed you, you saw it. You was right there. I was doing this. I know you pushed me.
He's just reading his email. He's reading his email. Hello, how are you? So pretty. Thank you. She's going home.
And they've arrested him, but you can see they fired several, I'm not sure what they fired.
And earlier what they are feeling off their chest, and we were joined by Damien Trujillo now, who's down on the ground for us. Damien, what are you seeing?
This isn't good. Apparently this SUV you see here was driving directly at the line of officers, and they pulled the driver out of that vehicle and they've arrested him, but you can see they fired several, I'm not sure what they fired at the windshield, but here is a driver here. He's under arrest. He was driving at the line of officers, and they fired some projectile at the suspect. And they're trying to disperse the crowd again right now here on 3rd Street. But it's pretty close.
SUV was driving. Damien, can you get a sense of
the guy in the gray T-shirt right there?
Correct. It was driving toward the officers, and I saw the officers have to run out of the way, fire something at the vehicle.
Can you hear what the guy is saying? Are you close enough to hear?
No. Sir, what were you thinking?
They were smashing my windows. They were wanting to hurt me. They wanted to hurt me. I was just trying to get out and save myself.
You didn't try to hit the officers.
I care about all people. This is unacceptable by the community.
So, according to his story, the protesters were surrounding his vehicle, and he must have gunned it, and the officers in the direction of the officers, and so they had to fire whatever they fired at the vehicle, and then now he's under arrest. We'll see how they handle that situation. But he seemed a little terrified. He was about what happened. His vehicle was surrounded by the protesters. He had to get out of the way, he says, and he headed in the direction of the officers.
Damien, how fast was he going? Do you know? Did you see how
compressed.
fast he was going toward the officers? Did you see how fast that SUV was going toward the officers?
I did not. I did not. I was on the Santa Clara Street side,
There's a fire
he was coming
behind
on
you,
3rd
Damien.
Street.
Damien, turn around and look at this. Something's on fire behind you.
I see it. It looks like it's near the SUV.
It's right by the SUV. It could be the SUV. It's a dumpster, Damien, right by the SUV.
No, I see it. It's hard to see
now
from
there's a
this
guy
point
getting
with
in the
crowd what
SUV,
exactly it
Damien.
is.
Damien,
It
I know
might
you
be.
you
It might be. I
can't.
can't get close enough.
No, I know you can't see it, but let me tell you what's happening. We're looking from Sky Ranger. Someone set the dumpster behind that SUV on fire, and then someone got into the SUV in the passenger seat. Pardon me, in the driver's seat. Now we're starting to see more people move toward it, as well as police officers, and we're hearing a series of, I don't know if these are explosions, flashbangs from the police officers, as now we see a large group of police officers, or if it's someone in the crowd that's setting that off.
Just as we were talking about
these are the police officers who are firing their flashbangs, and the crowd, the lines have compressed. The line of officers that was headed in this direction from 3rd Street has met up with the line headed in the other direction, and so there's only one line now, and the crowd seems to have dispersed in the direction of North and South 3rd Street. A few headed back toward the downtown area toward 1st Street, but not that many.
Yep. You can hear the
firing tear gas in it.
Yeah, you can hear the constant explosions there coming from the police department. And Damien, they all have masks on. You don't, in terms of those specialized masks. So get to a spot where you can breathe, because that's exactly what it does. It's an irritant, right, to your mouth and to your eyes to help disperse the crowd there. And Jessica, just as we were saying that in these other cities with all the things on fire, it wasn't happening in San Jose. We're starting to see that right as we were saying that. This is from another location. Our reporter Ian Cull, this is from his vantage point, another direction of that dumpster on fire just about 2 minutes ago next to that SUV, where the young man told Damien, that he was simply trying to get out of the crowd, and the police officers started shooting at him, thinking perhaps that he was coming at them. So they detained him. Sure, they're questioning him now. Not sure if they'll arrest him, but that's what's happening.
Okay, now we're starting to see glass shattered. We just saw a protester right there hit one of the shops right there, and you can see that glass front, which looks like an empty building, has been shattered. I don't think, and Damien, you can answer this, it doesn't look to me like they're using tear gas, because only a couple of the officers are wearing those masks. The other ones seem to be wearing clear shields. It looks like more like they're using their flash grenades, and that if it gets worse, they could use the tear gas, but it doesn't look like they're using tear gas at this point. Am I correct?
Well, if it wasn't tear gas, I'm not sure what it was.
Fire! So right now we need...
It's like a roller coaster, you know, it go up and then it go down. You know, it's very cool.
Don't take videos of people without asking.
Okay.
Kill niggers, kill niggers.
Can someone, okay, I just replayed it. Okay, I found out what to do now. All right. We good, guys, we good. There we go. I fix it. Very good. Hello. Doggy. Choco. Hello. Hi. So cute.
How you doing, young man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm proud of you, young.
So cute. Hello. Oh. Hello. Cutie cat. Hello. So cute.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. This dumpster that has had all the windows smashed out. Damien was reporting on a little bit earlier. If we can go over here a little bit, you can see that the police have moved up their line further along Santa Clara into the intersection of 3rd and Santa Clara here. And as you saw from our video as well, one of the so-called agitators that police are calling them broke one of the windows over here, just smashed it right in front of our camera. This is at the appears to be an old downtown furniture store, appears to be vacant here, but most people standing out in the street, a few people vandalizing like this. We've also seen a few people continuing to throw glass or water bottles at the police, and that's why we continue to hear those flashbangs. There was another round of tear gas that you saw, and Damien got caught up in the middle of that. We got caught up in one earlier over at 5th in Santa Clara as well that made the crowd move along this way. So that is the latest. Police now holding their line. Most of the people have now scooted back. Most are dispersing actually as well. We'll keep an eye on it for you guys.
Ian, while we have you there, there's a lot of business owners, obviously, that are watching our coverage right now, hoping that their small business or big business isn't going to get damaged like you just saw that glass. What are some of the names that you're seeing there? What type of restaurants are you seeing, bars, clubs, or restaurants within your eyesight here?
Yeah, well, there's a diverse group of businesses here. There's the 3rd and Bourbon Bar in East, the Mexico Bakery. Over on this side, the Dive Bar, the Ham Korean Kitchen, Mucha Sacaria. Those are all fine right now, it appears, and it appears that most people have moved on past that. And then also just, Raj, you know this area, and Jessica, just a few blocks down is San Pedro Square. And it appears that nobody is really in the streets. Most people are going on to the sidewalks now and kind of just turning around and seeing what the police are going to do next. And again, the police are holding their line at 3rd in Santa Clara.
Ian, were you in that position when they took the gentleman out of that car, out of the SUV? Were you already in that position? Could you see it from your vantage point?
I couldn't see it from our vantage point. We were just a block away parking and then walking up here right when Damien was talking and seeing that. Take a look here, guys. Police are advancing a little bit further, spreading out. You see these people holding their hands up. And they're just standing their ground. It appears right there. It's also by the Enzo.
It has to be assimilated. What I was saying before. It's got to be right.
Let's go. Let's go.
Guys, we have to create a human barricade or they're going to keep pushing us. No, they ain't let us go. They arresting people. They arresting people.
Well, guess I'm going to jail.
They arresting the people. They arresting the troublemakers.
The way they got us boxed in, I guess, control makers.
Look, the bus is here. They're gonna take us in a bus? That's nice of them.
I know, it was all air conditioned and shit.
They're taking us home in the bus. Wow. After all this walking we done today.
Don't touch it. Okay.
We just came out to be white folks on the front line. You guys are allies. You want to show niggas? You ain't gonna hurt you. They're white privilege. They're not gonna hurt you. They're not gonna hurt you. Asians as well.
What I was saying before, it's gotta be white women.
Let's go. Let's go.
They're gonna keep moving us. We just came from this same protest somewhere else. We're telling y'all to do the things that they were able to manipulate us with. You get what I mean? We weren't able to form a human chain and have the discipline to not move. 2 hours ago, they separated us and our movement became docile. So right now we need to become a human barricade. And I'm telling you from experience, because I was at another protest 2 hours ago. Become a human barricade. They cannot move us if we are united. Sir, you do no better. You're doing nothing. I'm telling you, y'all. 2 hours ago, y'all. 2 hours ago. This is the people I came with from 2 hours ago. What are we doing? A human barricade.
Barricade.
Please don't touch me, sir. Sorry.
Don't touch it. Okay.
The Dallas crime response teams have now
These are the officers that are trained in riot training, and they are surrounded by protesters. The organizers are trying, and they are surrounded. Those are the Karmaskowskis. The Dallas crime response teams have now stepped up. These are the officers that are trained in riot training, and they are surrounded by protesters. The organizers are trying to get people to keep moving, but they're not moving.
Are you able to cross? Are you able to go to Bank of America?
Oh, second. Yale. Uh-oh, we have to go now. Uh-oh, uh-oh.
You must disperse, or you will be subject to arrest. Keep moving, move back. Move back, keep moving, move back. Move back, move back, move back, move back, move back, move back, move back. Move it up, move it up, move it up, move back, move back. Get back, move back, move back.
Yes, throwing water at them will do the number. Throw more water at I don't know why we're here.
You must disperse, or you will be subject to arrest. Move back.
Please go home. No. Go home. Why are you not going home? Don't cry. Phones up, don't shoot. Phones up, don't shoot. Phones up, don't shoot.
Hell no.
Okay. I mean phone. Hello. Hey, how are you? Hello. I'm right behind you.
Don't touch me, man.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to help. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry. Oh. You have dick. Let's keep going. Let's keep walking.
And move down to the end of the block because they're going to flank us.
Hello.
The strategy behind this. I will.
Hello. Oh, okay, sorry.
They're trying to destroy this block. Our officers are moving in.
Everyone move to the intersection. They are coming. They are coming. They're flanking. Everybody move. They're flanking. Listen to me. They are flanking you. They are. Yo, bro.
I am behind you. Right behind you. Hands up, can you do hands up, don't shoot for me? Just two hands and just say don't shoot.
They're trying to get this crowd to disperse. Now officers are coming in with pepper ball guns. They're trying to destroy this block. Our officers are moving in.
And say don't shoot. Say don't shoot. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. And then I'm like, no, you freeze anyway. Fuck out. I'm kidding. Let's go. We are going here. Fuck you. Yeah, keep going here. Hello. Oh, I remember you from earlier. How are you?
You from Spain?
No. France.
France?
Yeah. Yep. Wait, you guys talking about two hands going up? Look at the staircase! Oh my God! Look at that staircase! Oh! I want to go up, Zach! Good angle. Uh-oh! Oh, I'm sorry. You have to. Boom, 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 boom. Life. George Floyd. Let's go, George Floyd. Yes.
You need to step back. We've stepped back.
Oh, George! No, man, shit. Look at him, he walks out. Beep, 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 beep. lives? What about Asian people? And white people too. Asian and white lives matter. And yes. Uh-oh. Let's go. Let's go. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is so bad. Oh my God. Oh, this is bad. This is crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh. Hello. Is everything okay? It's crazy, man. It's raining now.
We need to move further back to where the squad cars are.
I'm getting wet.
They're oh wow, they're throwing balls and
Jewish lives matter! Jewish lives matter! White lives matter! Uh-oh! No, I'm sorry. Please,
Disinfectant is good.
I don't know.
Right?
Go.
All right, let's go.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry. They just tackled the guy. Another man was tackled. He will be released from the police
we
station.
made it.
No problem.
Now let's go bring some more shit. I mean, not me, but other people, right?
Since there is no bail in New York.
Found out where they're there. Tough day to be a cop.
Hello.
Double back. Move back. Move back. Move back. Move back. Move back. Move back.
I'm moving. It's okay. Listen, lady, you have to move. He has a nightclub and he can fuck you up very bad. You know, you have to take orders from people that have weapons. Get your own. Defend yourself, lady. Get right with it. Fuck you! The military will be deployed to this area and there will be a big wipe. And I am scared. I have to get out. Go home. I have to go home, man. I'm so scared, man.
Let's stick together! Mama, help me! Let's stick together! You will be shocking, let's stick together!
Well, the cops like me, so it's okay.
Let's stick together!
I am with you, ma'am.
Let's stick together! Let's stick together!
I love the police. I love them. Sometimes I'm on the highway, car breaks down, I call 911. They come and they get me up.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
Oh! 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 No! She's a lesbian. I'm sorry. She's a lesbian. I'm sorry. This is the end of the world. This is World War III. Coronavirus edition. It's the end of the world. Coronavirus edition. Trump in office. Everything going wild up in this shit. My nigga. Oh, my nigga. My nigga, I'm scared. My nigga, I'm so scared. Oh my God. This is insane. I'm just walking peacefully. I will go home. I'm going home, I swear. Police, I'm going home. Just letting you know I'm going home. I'm scared. I'm going home. It is actually very nice outside. How about a nice warm weather? 71 degrees. Look at this. I can't even hear him.
I know you have orders from the mayor.
Please listen to me. Listen to me. You're a white bitch.
You're calls for your human.
Go home. This has nothing to do with you, man. You're a white cock. Go home. Just go home, man. This is not a protest for you, man. It's a protest for black people, not for you, man. Just go. Mind your own business, man. Look at it. Look at him. Look at him. Oh, he is Jesus. Look at him. Hey, you know this guy? This guy? He is self-righteous, you know? Yeah, he thinks he's like all that, but he's not. He's a faggot, man. I don't like the guy. He's like, oh, please help me. Like, he's like a pussy, you know? You hear me, man? You get me? Fist bump if you agree. He's a pussy, man. That's right. That's right. Please listen to me. Why would they listen to you? Feminine techno Viking, man. Soy techno Viking. That's a soy techno Viking.
Here they come. I didn't know pigs could run.
They actually can down here. They can run down here, actually, very quickly.
Three fat white guys ran in the front.
My father is a fat white man. I feel like...
And that nigga bust his ass. Oh, that's that guy that busted his ass.
My father is a fat white man.
He should go on a diet so he doesn't get diabetes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Is really hoping continues through the evening.
fuck your union. I'm a real union man. I know how unions work.
I don't know what he's saying. What is he saying? I don't know. Look how fast they are going. It's the Olympics. When will you go to Walmart and Target? Let's go to Walmart and Target!
Going on for about
Target!
hours now. Started on
Target!
1 and then
With Walmart!
to downtown San Jose.
Let's go!
It's the same group of protesters.
Target! Walmart!
We've seen people coming.
Let's go!
Or new people showing up.
Target! Target! Oh,
I know you've mentioned
new TV! New car! Yes! New carpet! Are you going to Walmart? Oh! Hello.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Follow your sources and follow your instincts. Check in with us as soon as you get to some place that you want to report back to us. We appreciate that.
Hello. How are you? That's so cool, man. You saw? I saw that spin. So cool. Oh my God, so cool. You see that? So cool. Let's do the clip. Yeah, so cool. Yes. Look at all your bicycles, they're so cool. Cool cops. Yes, sir, the coolest. The coolest cops. They are like Jean-Claude Van Damme, you know. Chris Tucker, Rush Hour 3. Yes, hello, yes. How are you? You look at all these bicycles, man.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
cool. Look.
They think they're the shit.
They are maybe some cool, you know, they have cool party, you know.
See them?
Do you want to hang out with them?
Huh? I mean, you could go try hanging out with them.
Okay.
Committing vandalism.
They got
I
guns,
got it on
man.
my own
They got
camera.
guns. That's cool.
White people, Asians, Hispanics, and motherfuckers
That's
coming
going
the
to kill
fuck
you,
up.
you know.
That's what I'm saying on the
No black people.
If they stand
So
on the
when y'all
side, they
write
will
this
kill you.
motherfucking story, don't say we out here tearing up shit. Say we out here tearing up they shit, bitch.
Thank you. Is it going? Is it still going, or is it like pretty much done? On $1 a day? You just spent really? Oh, wow. That's great, actually. We gotta go.
That's right.
All right, let's do $1 a day traveling together one day. I do. Best day of my life. $1.
This is me talking a little bit.
All right. Marisol's got a boyfriend, guys, but who knows? I'm famous, so. Pink Floyd concert.
What is going on here? How are you guys doing? You're just chilling out?
Huh?
You're chilling out, okay.
Well,
Fist
whatever.
bump,
It was
my
kind of
nigga.
creepy, but you know.
Fist bump, my nigga. This height.
Sometimes you gotta creep a little to, you know, get knee deep a little. If that makes any sense.
You saw that guy on the bike?
How did I escape? They just let us go in the end.
They are locking niggas up. They say they're locking niggas up. What did they say?
Hey guys.
Sir,
Chilling.
they're saying
Just,
they're
you know,
locking
filming
niggas
a
up.
little
They're
bit
saying
around
they're
here.
locking niggas up.
Everybody's so scared, man.
I know. Crazy today. Crazy day.
We ain't got no narrative for you. Sorry. No narrative.
Oh, it's good. I got no narrative either. I'm the no narrative narrator. All right.
Hello,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you for tuning into the stream.
Yes.
1 second, we're still here. I just read the camera. Take one in chat if you left the stream. Take two in chat if you hate it. Take two in chat if you hate it. Take one if you like it and you subscribe and you comment. Thank you so much.
Asians, Hispanics,
That is great to be in New York.
motherfuckers covered the fuck up. No black people.
All right.
So when y'all write this motherfucking story, don't say we out here tearing up shit. Say we out here tearing up they shit. Bitch.
Thank you. Is it going? Is it still going, or is it like pretty much done? It's revolving. We'll see where it takes us. All right. I'll leave my address.
Karen got arrested. Karen
That
got
way,
arrested. She does not know what side she is on. Karen does not know what side she is on, so she got arrested.
Richard was pretty cute.
Sorry, Karen.
I hope you guys are working on the slideshow. Cutest protesting girls of today.
This guy is running away from that cop.
Shut up, pussy. That's why you riding a bike, fat ass. Fuck you talking about?
I mean, he is just trying to lose weight, you know. It's not that bad.
It's a fat ass pig. That's why.
Well, he's going to stop eating less and, you know, make a
Oh, I saw
transformation.
some
you know?
vandalism today.
And he will work out, you know. You don't have to be so mean.
Go to the protest. There's still a protest going. I think they dismantled it already. We can try. All right. We're done?
Oh.
You gotta move. You gotta.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You ran away from him. You're like faggot ass bitch.
I got away from him.
I didn't mean to drop the F word.
Yeah, I know, that's so bad, man. Why'd you say call them a faggot? You hate gay people?
No, I don't hate gay people.
You are a homo?
No,
it's okay to be homophobic.
No, it's not okay to be homophobic. Don't ever fucking say that.
I mean, he said faggot.
No, you're wrong. Bye.
Aaron's getting in trouble, bro.
But you said faggot. That's homophobic. Okay, well, have a nice day.
Bisexual, fuck off.
I love you. Listen, I'm new to this country. There's no. Just relax, you know.
Here we have some
Jesus Christ.
samples of what happened today.
I don't know. I think these people are confused, you know. I don't know what they are fighting for, you know. Just relax, you know. She got the mask on.
Very little looting.
Mask on flick. Well, look at the mask.
Hey, man.
Mask on flick, bicycle on flick. Very cool.
There you go. They made it. They survived the evil.
Hello. So how far can I stand without getting arrested?
As far back as possible. Unless you want to get arrested.
I don't want to get.
Fucking 20 people
Not much.
like 5 feet away from me just got arrested.
Oh no.
Because I was the first group of people to make it to the end of the block.
Don't look so menacing. Wear an
Another
NYPD
one.
shirt and say that you like them and they won't arrest you.
I'm white, they won't arrest me. It's fucked up, but it's true.
No, they will arrest you and they'll press charges because you're white.
You think so?
Yes, 100%.
Why do you think so? Why do you say that?
Well, because they're trying to, you know, make everyone better except white people because there's privilege in white people and government recognizes this, you know, and they'll arrest you, you know. Don't worry about it.
So you think the
Do you want to go get the life sentence? I can get you one very quickly.
Yeah.
And then they can get you one too, you know.
You can, yeah.
It's terrible.
That's an interesting opinion, my friend.
Well, it is not an opinion, it is fact. Trust me. Okay, listen. The fact is that if he got arrested, if he has no criminal record, they're gonna let him go. And that's all. You don't have to worry about it, you know? I have to go back to the action, man. I don't want the viewers to fuck off. Let's go back and check out what's going on. Uh-oh. Hello. If you break the law, you get arrested. It's that simple. Don't break the law and everything will be fine. Get a job, work that job, finesse society in other ways other than violence. All right, so you're going home now, or you going home?
We're regrouping. What do you mean?
You're regrouping? Where is Antifa headquarters? Let's do it. Where are we going?
Oh, where the fuck you're going?
Wherever I'm going? Because I have the most viewers on the live stream, right?
Let's go. Why aren't you filming the action, bro?
You're missing what the fuck actually matters. Go fucking go take a live stream of what the fuck actually matters. Don't fucking record me, record what the fuck actually matters.
Thank you. Okay, I go. Okay, she knows what the content is. Thank you so much. She knows that the content is here. It matters, okay.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, I got to pull my pants up. When he ain't out selling the black one, that's how we roll around here, my nigga. That's how we go. Go hard out here on these motherfucking streets, my nigga. That's how we fucking roll, my nigga. Go hard on these motherfucking streets. In NWA, my nigga. That's how we roll, man. Shit. Hopefully you guys appreciate it.
How you guys doing? Pretty tired, walking all day?
Hey, I remember
really.
you. How are you?
No. Like at what, 7-Eleven, something like that? Me too, actually.
So what is up?
Have you tried to like Google it?
Well, I'm not.
Oh man. Yeah.
I don't want to get arrested, so I'm just going to maintain my distance, you know.
Well, good luck.
I have a job, you know. Oh, here's a car clone, you know. That's like that looks like me a lot. I told you, you look like me a lot.
You are?
Yes, you do.
Where are you from?
France.
France?
Sipping ain't easy.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. We look very much alike. You guys see? This is good.
Doppelgangers.
Yes,
What
yes.
is this? What is
It's
this?
YouTube.
YouTube?
Hello. So, what are your thoughts on what happened? Disappointing.
Oh,
this was just a job and this
bad
is people's feelings, right? Help me out, babe.
Help him out.
Yeah, no, it felt really disappointing that they fucking acted this way.
Yes.
And it's fucking double standard that
Testimony.
they can abuse and beat everybody and then,
Well, they can't beat everybody.
No idea.
yeah, they do.
I mean, I got beat up by a police officer 3 months ago and it hurts so bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Guess it's over. How's Bone Clinks doing? Still riding around on his page? Let's see.
Hello. Hey guys, how are you? Are you open for interview?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Wow,
It's okay.
CBS. It's gonna be hard with this one.
YouTube.
I know, like, what's the name of you guys' channel?
Carl III.
Carl. We got some good phones in here.
How much subscribers you got? You guys got?
I think when they
It's like,
started
8,000.
8,000.
We started too. We got Tox, so we made a lot of content.
Oh, you guys make content creators?
Yeah, content creators.
Do you guys still have podcasts?
Across the street. I don't know.
You guys have
we're working on it though.
Okay.
Well, I wish you luck to your what is it called? I'm gonna
I mean,
to you guys.
we will be.
What you said?
Carl, I
getting
will be
risky
fierce
on Twitch by
competitors
two
for the
people.
viewership.
Awesome.
Definitely. That's the mastermind right there, my bro.
Maybe
right
they can
here.
help me put up
You do AdSense. You do YouTube
Yo, what up,
commercial
Twitch?
YouTube ads.
Yes, I'm back.
We're still growing.
Finally.
We get
Got some
ads, but
content.
we're
Hey,
trying to
I love you
monetize
guys.
soon.
Right,
What's the name of yours?
Carl, C-A-R-L. I. Just that space. There we go. Boom. And
Where you guys are from?
Where are we from? France.
France?
Yes.
What type of content you guys make?
Anything really.
Anything?
Anything that helps.
Oh, you guys are live right now?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got $30. 2 minutes ago. When I steal, it's always horizontal. But people, thank you so much. I'm lost $25 when life gives you lemons. Make lemonade.
They're open? Oh man, I'm so hungry.
Nick Spence. Let's just play all the donations, huh? Fuck the police. Okay, so where do we go now?
This,
You guys are from France? We're in France, Paris?
Yes.
Good.
All right.
You guys go up here. I wish you guys luck. You guys are getting some good money. Most of your followers in America or overseas?
America.
America?
Yes.
What? Are you guys like political?
Nothing political. Just anything will make us money.
Anything that will make you money, I respect you.
That's it. Anything that will make us money. And you have to
Let's end this stream with some good content.
Just don't care, just make your money.
You guys fuck with the crypto over there?
What's up?
You guys listen to crypto over
Crypto,
there?
yes. Cryptocurrency, yes.
What coins you fuck with?
Only Bitcoin. But only Bitcoin. I shouldn't have done this. Okay, listen.
This is the main area.
Shit.
There's a bunch of cops there.
Will be more protest or what's the situation? You know. Is it tiring? Yes.
Everybody's playing fuck the police.
Jesus Christ, stop. Oh my God. Enough. All right, guys, so I don't know where else the protest is going to be. I don't know where the action is going to be. These guys don't know where the action is going to be. I want to see what the action is, but maybe I should just go home. I don't know. Should I just go home? Okay, I'll just go home. I don't walk on the street.
Is there 24-hour Chinese food?
This is a no-go.
No 24-hour Chinese, but you guys have to let me know where to go.
I think
Where
it's
do I
over,
go
guys.
to capture content?
To where?
Content?
Connecticut?
Yes, content. Where is content? Content. C-O-N-T-E-N-T.
Oh, I don't know, bro. I never heard of that either.
You guys don't like content. That's a shame. A lot of people do. So let me just.
Here we are. No, I'm not trapped.
Thank you, everyone.
Wanna come and pick
I
me
need
up?
to find out where the rest is, man.
Go
Shit.
get some dinner, chill. What about that?
Guys, I need to get address. I need to know where do I go to get the content. We are gonna go. Here. Let's go. Where is the protest?
New York is burning down.
Black Lives Matter.
Yellow lives matter. All lives matter.
I need a ride? Hell yeah, hit me up.
But I don't know.
This shit is over.
White lives matter. All lives matter.
Tell them CX News.
Everyone matters. Riverside Park.
Dyslexia, I have donated $5. Look out for an African American man named Bibble.
Bibble.
He is a large black male, likely horizontal. Last seen looting the Target on 42nd and Lake Street. He is heavily armed and dangerous.
Okay, thank you so much.
Gotta give it to
Check Black Twitter.
They did a pretty good job.
I have to go check Black Twitter. God damn it. Black Twitter, you better help me, Black Twitter.
Photograph man.
I need Black Twitter to help me find where this is. Where's? Do you know where the protest is now?
I think it's kind of over now.
It's over?
Kind of. I don't have any. My battery is dead. I can't.
Your battery is dead. Can you go on Black Twitter? Go on Black Twitter and just find out where.
My phone is dead.
Your phone is dead.
Yeah, do you know where the G-train?
No.
Okay,
I'm not sure. Hey man, hello. What's up, man? Do you know where the protest is now?
No.
Is it done? Is it over?
I have no idea.
Are you going home? Okay. Bye-bye. All right then. Hey, I'm sorry. Do you guys know where the protest is, or is everyone going home now? All right. Thank you. All right. All right, guys. I hope everyone sticks around, and if you don't, fuck you. You're a faggot. You're not worth my time if you're not sticking around. If you just went to see the protest and then you're fucking up, you're a faggot. Fuck you.
All right, let's walk that
That's
way.
the reality of the situation. But if you stick around and you really support the channel, I love you so much. You're my best friend if you do that. But if you just came to watch the protest and leave, I hate you so much. If you don't stick around, I hate you so much. Go fuck off. You piece of shit. You cocksucker. But if you like my shit, subscribe please. Thank you.
Pretty good stream today.
Alright, it's getting very blobby.
Not bad.
Bloggy. Bloggies.
Texas, we're here.
Alright.
Not over, are you sure?
Something right. You know what? Listen. Hear me, man? Listen.
Yeah. Okay. Quick though, I don't want you to keep following me. It's all right.
You got the Asian in you, man. You gotta drink this up.
No, I'm all right.
You gotta prove all the competitors wrong.
I'm all right. Thanks. All right.
Landmarks and everything, and yeah.
I mean, I try to be respectful. I said no, and sorry.
Come on, say something right. You know what? Listen. Hear me, man? Listen.
Yeah. Okay. Quick though, I don't want you to keep following me. It's all right.
You got the Asian in you, man. You gotta drink this up.
No, I'm all right.
You gotta prove all the competitors wrong.
I'm all right. Thanks. All right.
You can't just walk off like that from me.
Sorry.
Come on, man.
I need to get away from him. I really need to get away from him. My gosh, what's wrong with him? I mean, I try to be respectful. I said no, and I didn't want to get aggressive with him because I knew he would be like this, but
Hey, what's up, man? How are you? I'm just heading
Hey.
up to Times Square.
okay.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
Yep.
Why not?
I'm just
Hey.
heading up to Times Square, and I'm just trying to explore New York. show everybody the landmarks and everything, and you know.
Okay.
All
Why
right,
not?
let's head. Come on.
Jim Jones, there's
Dream
5 pounds.
Team,
Thank
right?
you.
2.0. Let's do it.
All right.
I
Let's
saw
do
you
it.
on Twitch though.
Oh, thank you. All right.
You got a donation, right?
Yeah, I do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Is this your full-time thing, or?
I'd rather not answer that, man. I'm sorry. I really like you, but I don't want you to follow me like this. It's not right. You know, please respect my distance, because I don't feel safe right now.
Listen, I'll just stream you from a distance, okay?
I don't want you to stream me at all. Stay away.
I mean,
stay away.
come on, man. Don't be a faggot.
I'm not a faggot. You're following me. What the hell's wrong with this guy? My God. I'm gonna keep this stream on because what the fuck? All right, I'm out of here. I'm not going to Times Square because this fucking guy is on me. Bye-bye, folks. Well, I'm gonna keep it on until I get on the damn subway, because he's not gonna catch up with Action Kid. And I'm gonna jump the turnstile because I don't feel safe. Okay? All right, good. I might have messed up the gimbal, but oh, rat. Good, train's coming. Let's get on. Ah! All right, 2 pounds. Thank you, Jim Jones. Thank you. I'm out of here. Bye, folks. My gosh, that was freaking scary. My God.
This bitch fucks dogs, guys. She went to go fuck her dog. That's disgusting. I'm actually gonna call whatchamacallit, and you know, if we're playing Docs and Don't Matters, like, we're gonna actually have to get Mandy removed. Now that I think about it, that's fucking that's like not cool. That's not cool at all. That's disgusting. You fuck dogs, bitch. And we're done. That's perfect. That's perfect, guys. This bitch fucks dogs. Did she really say that shit to Candace? I fuck with Candace, so I don't think Candace would lie. Was she really saying that dogs fuck better and all this shit? Weirdo. Weirdo. Let me skate down the block and finish this discussion. Weird bitch. Like, dogs probably fucked horses. Like, the only thing she told me about was dogs, but I bet you she fucked horses, monkeys, pigs. She said it. It's fucking disgusting. She's blocked, by the way, for bestiality. I didn't want to expose her. She wanted me to promise and never tell. Well, you know, some things need to be told. Disgusting. Live. Watch this.
What the fuck are you saying when you were telling me about your crackhead mother who went to jail your whole life?
Hey, didn't you fuck dogs for money, though, and now you testify on pimps?
Never.
Yes, you did. You're disgusting, bitch. You're on federal paperwork. You're a dog fucker. Stop trying to get in my clout, bitch. You fuck dogs. Go suck a dog dick. We're going to make sure that Mandy is properly taken care of. You get pissed and shit on, and you fuck dogs. You're disgusting. Ended her stream to call me. Get out of here. Get out of here. Back to the Ski Mask Andy show. Oh, you're going to burn my fucking Kinko's copy paper over there. You ugly bitch. This bitch fucks dogs, guys. She went to go fuck her dog. That's disgusting. I'm actually gonna call whatchamacallit, and you know, if we're playing Docs and Don't Matters, like we're gonna actually have to get Mandy removed. Now that I think about it, that's fucking that's like not cool. That's not cool at all. That's disgusting. You fuck dogs, bitch.
I'm getting yelled at. Cringe on YouTube.
This is for Black Lives, bitch. This is for Black Lives.
Oh, I might need also. It is. Please. Now. This is a joke. You tell me to leave a protest? This is ridiculous. You should. You fucking should. They're telling me to leave a protest. I can't leave a protest. Please. No, I'm not leaving. I'm sorry. I'm American. I can protest. Huh? What? I'm not going anywhere. I believe in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Look at this. I can do whatever I want on media. Isn't this weird? They're getting mad at me. I'm on your team. Corinne Forever YouTube. I'm privileged? Are you joking? Not privileged at all.
No, you're privileged. You're aware of your privilege. You're part of the problem.
Really? Oh my God. Corinne Forever YouTube. I'm not part of the problem. I'm for you. You're beautiful.
Fuck these Karens! Fuck these Karens! Fuck these Karens! Fuck these Karens!
What's a Karen?
Fuck these Karens! 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 Fuck these Karens!
This vantage point, but I can show you the helicopter. That I can't show you. So the LAPD helicopter has been over this during the entire duration, and they have been the eyes of the LAPD on the ground, letting them know, you know, what direction the protesters are moving, and then calling for help when the LAPD ground units needed it, and their brothers and sisters couldn't see that they were in need of help, especially in that situation where that one officer got attacked near Pershing Square, right off of 5th Street.
They're telling me to leave a protest. I can't leave a protest.
In a car?
No, I'm not leaving. I'm sorry. I'm American. I can protest.
Yeah, it looks like it's somebody in a convertible taking pictures, but whoa, look at that.
Goodness.
Oh gosh, that was, he sped off way too fast with the number of protesters right there. That could have been bad, but fortunately he did not run anyone over. But this person trying to document this likely for their social media, and we've seen this throughout the course of this protest.
Okay, there we go. That is Atlanta.
Out of the vehicles, some of the participants of the protest were just hanging out their windows, showing off their signs, but in this case I believe it is just a bystander who's just trying to document what is going on.
Oh my
God. You know, the location here is right around 8th and Grand, and while you wouldn't necessarily see restaurants and bars open at this point, there is, I believe, a Whole Foods market right there on the corner, so you could see people conceivably going in and out of there to buy groceries or try to pick up food or something. So that might explain the number of cars and traffic that you see right on that particular corner.
And then also, we had that major closure on the 110 freeway that affected both sides. So as you mentioned earlier, a lot of people got off the freeway and figured they were better off taking surface streets through the area, not counting on having the protesters get off the freeway and back onto the streets. So that did, in fact, push additional vehicles onto surface streets. And I continue to watch this car because it is, of course, a convertible. You can see the passenger and the driver being surrounded by some of these protesters, but it seems like for the most part it's all good. They're giving him high fives, so it looks like this is going to be okay. But we saw the way that vehicle sped off, and it became quite dangerous here for a moment. But again, this is all going to be Grand and 8th Street here in downtown.
Yeah, if you could widen out the shot just a little bit so we can get an idea. There's a small group around this car, but everybody else seems to be moving.
Yeah, let me widen out so we can see exactly what's going on. Yeah, it looks like they're moving. The greatest chunk of the group is making a turn now. So it looks like they're turning westbound onto 7th. So some of them are actually going east. So they're kind of splitting off here. Something going on here at this corner. We're going to move News Chopper 4 Alpha around to see what is going on. I do see some LAPD officers down there, so perhaps some arrests taking place. And definitely a team of officers there, and some of the protesters with their arms wide open in front of these officers, but unclear exactly what is going on. It doesn't look like they're being arrested, but just kind of surrounding these officers. This is going to be 7th and Grand, so 7th and Grand.
Yeah, it looks like the LAPD officers are standing their ground, but they're far outnumbered here.
Definitely a lot more protesters than we see police officers. I'll try to count the officers, but I'm only seeing about 6. They've all got their shields and batons. I see some with less than lethal weapons as well. You see that one officer talking to that man in the motorcycle helmet right there next to the Metro bus. And the reason why all of these officers are here is they're actually not far from the large group of officers that we saw earlier, the officers who were on 7th and the 110 freeway. Those officers made their way to the east on 7th, and now they've met up with the protesters here at 7th and Grand.
Ileana, if you could just look, just stay on this shot here, but just glance over to the freeway if you can and let us know, has it opened up there at all yet?
It has, Colleen. I'm looking over towards the 110 freeway right now. It is out my left. And okay, so here's what's going on. The freeway is still shut down northbound at Adams. So it's still shut down at Adams. If you're going northbound 110, you will be forced off on Adams, and there is a major traffic delay there. We're bringing News Chopper 4 Alpha around to just get around a building, but we're hearing actually that there's some people that may have made their way to the freeway, so we're going to push in on that again. Everyone was off, but some people may have gotten back on. So we're going to take a quick peek at that. There's some LAPD officers there. They're on the southbound side of the freeway. These other squad cars are on the north side, so let's see if we can in fact find these protesters that have made their way onto the freeway. This is just per scanner traffic, so we're just trying to verify if that is in fact what is taking place. Oh, and there we go, right there, 110 freeway at 5th Street.
Oh, yeah,
protesters back on the northbound side.
That's a pretty sizable group.
Yeah, so this group is different than the group we have a little further off the freeway at 7th and Grand. This is a completely different portion of the group. These guys are definitely on the freeway. They're on the northbound side of the 110 freeway at 5th Street. Just when things were starting to look a little better for that 110, it's now completely blocked off here heading northbound. The southbound side, though, that remains open for the most part. The LAPD does, and the CHP does have one lane taken away.
Can you push back in on that? It doesn't look like there are any officers there at all.
They are to the south, yeah. Yeah, so they're not with the group of protesters, but they are a little bit to the south. Let me move the shot, and I can show you them. But they're significantly away.
Yeah.
They're all the way down here. So that is quite the distance. They are not going to be able to corral some of those protesters from how far away they are. I would measure that that's at least a quarter mile away. These protesters here, though, on the 5th Street on-ramp for the 110 freeway.
Yeah, and they've taken it down to one lane there, and they're on both sides.
Yeah, you can see that right there.
Yeah, look at this car in the middle. Oh, actually directing him to go.
Yeah, so somehow he was able to convince them to let him through. Not all of the cars have been that lucky, but look at this. They are actually waving for the vehicles to get through. So they are letting cars through in that number 1 lane. They're gently, very gingerly making their way past the protesters. But these guys are all over the freeway. This is the on-ramp there. You see them up there. That would be quite the fall if they fell, so hopefully they are firmly sitting up there. But you can see there's some additional protesters in the center divider, and a lot of people out here. I would measure, this is easily 50 people here on the freeway.
You know, I happen to notice a couple of people are carrying those orange cones, And I'm trying to get a look at this big orange sign in the middle. Yeah, ramp is closed. So
yeah, so they took that sign from that ramp.
Yep.
And you can see that guy proudly with his hand up and posing for a picture with this Caltrans sign that was intended to be for that on-ramp there at 5th Street, but now is in their possession. Some cars making their way through. Since the protesters are off to the right, they're still able to make their way through on the ramp. And you can look at some vandalism that is going on right there.
Tagging.
That man there putting graffiti on the freeway on-ramp. And let me push in here because there is a car here that has stopped, but it looks like it is one of the participants here, one of the protesters who is documenting everything that is going on here on the 110 freeway.
Okay,
and these seem to be
wooden pallets or
perhaps?
Something? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's definitely wood of some sort. I don't know where they got it from. I think it's part of the Caltrans construction work, though. I can't imagine that they were able to get it from anywhere else. So it has to have come from the Caltrans work that is going on here on the 110 freeway. And now all lanes completely stopped. They were generous there for a time and were letting cars through in that number 1 lane, but now it's a complete standstill here on the 110 freeway. Let me quickly just show you the backup. That's going to be basically all the way to the 110 freeway on the northbound side. The southbound side has also now been stopped by the CHP. They are holding everyone back at 2nd Street. So that's going to be just south of the 4-level interchange where the 101 and the 110 come together. So if by any chance, again, if you know anyone that is traveling through this area, give them a call. Tell them to avoid the 110 freeway in both directions.
Just give me a quick idea right here. What is this entrance ramp? What is the street?
This is going to be 5th Street, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to widen out, though, just to double check. It is, in fact, 5th Street. And then my pilot, Saro, is also telling me that some of the protesters are letting off fireworks. Not currently. They actually just stopped. But some of the protesters that are part of the other group are, in fact, letting off fireworks. I'll widen out to see if perhaps we can catch them as they do that. Right around here. Right around there, that group there, which is that first group that we were looking at that was on 7th and Grand, they were just letting off fireworks moments ago. So we'll wait here for just a second and see if we can catch that.
You know, instead of diminishing in size, which we thought at one point, it looks like their numbers have grown again.
It really does, and I think what happened was that the group had somewhat dispersed as they've made their way onto the 110 freeway the first time, but now they've come back together, and they're either going to be in one of two groups. They're either going to be in this group at 7th and Grand, that is the larger of the groups, or they're going to be the group that is on the 110 freeway at 5th Street. This group, though, has the greatest number of officers on scene. You see that scrimmage line of officers right there on Grand. Those officers are looking over towards the west, so they're facing towards the freeway. And you can see that one police cruiser there in the middle, surrounded by officers in their tactical gear. That's their riot gear. And again, this protest, as you mentioned, Colleen, looks like instead of decreasing, it is increasing in size. And just moments ago, they let off some fireworks. And again, what started as a peaceful protest earlier today at about 4 o'clock has become violent in nature.
Once again, we're going to continue with live pictures on NBCLA.com. These are protesters that have taken over several sections of downtown LA and the 110 freeway. We're going to work on putting all of this together for you for the NBC News at 11. But again, we'll continue to offer live pictures on NBCLA.com. And Ileana Moreno will get right back to you as soon as anything happens there.
Thank you. And thank you for all of you who are joining us on the NBCLA website and all of our online platforms. My pilot, Saro Garabetian, and I are up here in News Chopper 4 Alpha, continuing to bring you these live images of these protests that are going on in the downtown LA area. starting with this group of protesters that is at 7th and Grand. This is going to be the larger of the two groups. You can see all of the police vehicles there that are parked alongside 7th Street and additional officers over there at Olive. So this is where we see the greatest number of officers, but the greatest impact is definitely going to be on the freeway because we still have a lot of people who are blocking the northbound side of the 110 freeway. So pardon me as I make that big move there from 7th and Grand over to the 110 freeway. This is going to be the 110 at 5th. All lanes currently stopped by protesters. And if you're wondering what do they have across the freeway, it does look like it's some construction signs from Caltrans who have been working on this portion of the freeway. Fortunately, they weren't working on it right now, but the protesters were able to get their hands on some of their signs, and those signs are now across the freeway here. Let me show you, though, the opposite side of the freeway, which the CHP has just let go. They were holding everyone back at 2nd. Closest to the northbound side of the freeway, which is where the protesters are now staging. So again, this is going to be 5th Street. So this is going to be north of the 10 freeway, but south of the 101, just on the west side of all of the big buildings that you see in downtown LA. We have more units coming on scene. This is an amazing shot, so let me go ahead and show it to you. This is going to be additional units that are coming to the scene along the 101 freeway. So I'll show you that right now. I'm going to move over to a completely different freeway. So look at all of these units that are coming on scene. These units are currently coming through the Silver Lake Echo Park area. They're heading southbound on the 101, approaching the 110. I'm counting at least 6 units, all rolling code 3, which means lights and sirens, as they're making their way over towards the downtown LA area. They're coming here to assist from the valley. So those are all going to be valley units that are coming south on the 101 freeway to join up with their brothers and sisters of the LAPD here in the downtown LA area to assist with the ongoing protest efforts by protesters who are asking for justice in the death of George Floyd. That is how all of this started. There was a man by the name of George Floyd, a 46-year-old African-American man out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, who died in an altercation with officers back in that city after allegedly attempting to use a fake $20 bill. That man did die in that altercation, and the primary officer involved in that altercation has now been taken into custody. He was arrested earlier today, but these protests began 2 days ago. This is the 3rd consecutive day that these protests have been going on. I'm going to move back over to the other group, pardon me, because my pilot is saying he sees additional fireworks going off, which is one thing that has been coming from this group here on 7th and Hope. But you can see the officers are actually starting to take over this intersection. Some of the protesters are moving out. Wow, look at that. They are smashing the windows of this LAPD cruiser. Look at that. This guy coming up with a scooter, hitting the front passenger window. Didn't work. He's going to try it again. They are really taking over this intersection and destroying this LAPD vehicle. I can tell it's LAPD because of the numbers on the rooftop. So the number 1 that you see there means that it belongs to the Central Division of the LAPD. There are 21 divisions of the LAPD. This is going to be Central. Look at that, smashing through those windows. You can sense the anger, just the pure anger. And now we have officers moving in. They've had enough. They're going to scatter this group. And you can see them running away from the intersection. Again, this is going to be in the downtown LA area on surface streets here through the area on Hope Street and 7th, just east of the 110 freeway. This skirmish line of officers has formed. And let me just confirm, I was calling this 7th, but I believe this is where it becomes Wilshire. So this is going to be what I believe is Wilshire and Hope. So it is going to be Wilshire and Hope. We have all of the LAPD officers there. We have some people running. Based off of my previous experience, when I've seen people running like that at protests, it's usually because the officers are shooting pepper ball rounds. In this case, I haven't witnessed that. So it'll be interesting to see if that is something that happens during the course of this protest, as it has become increasingly more violent. So in addition to this group, we still have that group on the freeway. Still keeping an eye on them both, but it's there's really just so much going on. We're trying to bring you all of the best shots and all of the best action as it happens. But right now, this is the heart of it. Wilshire and Hope. Dozens of LAPD officers trying to hold this crowd back. They're protesting against police brutality, protesting against the untimely death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and asking for simple justice, asking for the officers who were involved in Floyd's death to be held accountable.
We are going to be better after this COVID-19 crisis, and this injustices and social issues that's happening in America is changing and going to change. They don't get this moment.
What can we all do you think, Shonda, to make it better and improve upon this situation?
Work collectively together, because the thing that COVID-19 has shown us,
on the north. My pilot Sorrow says he sees traffic moving a little bit here on the freeway, so we're going to move back over here so that we can see if there's any movement going on over here. But I still see all lanes blocked here. They were letting that far left lane through for a while, but they've since blocked that. The cars, though, have been seen going the wrong way to get off. And here's another group. So here's a team of officers that is now on the freeway. Again, we have the group of protesters that's just a little bit to the north. They're at 5th Street. These officers are just a little bit to the south. So they're going to be a little bit south of that larger group that's on the freeway. But here's additional people on the freeway. Maybe about 24 protesters and just as many officers here on the northbound 110. Let me give you the off-ramp here. It's going to be 6th. So they're about one major street away from that original group that we were watching on the freeway. This is exactly what the LAPD and the CHP was trying to avoid today. They were trying to keep the protesters off the freeway. We saw it on Wednesday, though. They worked their way to the 101 freeway, where some of the protesters even got hurt falling off of a CHP squad car. So they were trying to prevent that from happening today, and they were pretty successful for a few hours, but you can only hold back the people so long, and now they are back on the freeway, but this time on the 110 freeway. For those of you who may be watching us from outside of our viewing area, the 110 freeway is the oldest freeway that we have here in Los Angeles. It is the Harbor Freeway, and then it becomes the Arroyo Seco Freeway as you head towards Pasadena, where we have the Rose Bowl every January 1st and the Rose Parade. So a lot of you will be familiar with Pasadena because of that. So the 110 freeway, where it ends, it will take you all the way into Pasadena. The 110 freeway through this stretch, though, runs just on the east side of all the big buildings in downtown. So the heart of LA, it runs right through it. It is always a very busy freeway. And I'm going to actually move the shot over for just a second, over to 7th and Hope. We're hearing that an officer may have been hurt. So let me push in on that, just so we can verify if that is in fact the case. That's going to be Hope. Let me see. I think that, yeah, that's going to be it. So let me push in here. 7th and Hope. We see people running. So let's see if we see that an officer is hurt. There is one officer there being escorted by his brothers and sisters in uniform. It looks like for just a second, over to 7th and Hope. There is one officer there being escorted by his brothers and sisters in uniform. It looks like they're definitely holding on to him for some reason and going to be putting him in a vehicle. So that officer was hurt somehow while we were watching the people on the freeway. There was some sort of scuffle here at 7th and Hope.
Just bear with us.
The officer was hurt, but you see his colleagues trying to get him some help, sitting him down in the passenger seat of that police van, trying to take off his helmet, making him feel a little bit more comfortable. But he had to be walked over to the van. We didn't hear exactly how he got hurt, but he was definitely hurt in some way. Again, 7th and Hope.
That was the concern for Atlanta Fire, and they said that they would be
from accessing it, and it looks like a crowd was going toward that fire that we think could possibly be
say they're
a
taking rocks
dumpster,
and
and they were
bottles, and
hyped
here's
and they were
the,
dancing around it. And now as we go back out, it looks like they've now dispersed from that a little bit. So I think that also introduces another layer of the challenge to bring this thing to an end, because it's happening.
My guess is he will likely be transported just as a precaution. We saw him walking to that police van, though not on his own. He was being held by his fellow officers.
Hundreds of people moving through the streets, as Jobina points out, moving towards Jack London Square from City Hall, where they originally gathered at Frank Ogawa Plaza. It does appear that they're safe. Jobina, when we had Sky 7 overhead originally in Oakland and we could see a line of police officers in tactical gear, I haven't seen any close-up shots of police in the past few minutes. Have you seen any officers on the ground?
People are out of their cars now, in the street, cheering. Really, so many people are proud of what they're seeing here, as far as bystanders that are pulled up, honking their horns in support. So really loud, I can't hear you, but that's what's happening right now.
Jobina, can you hear me now? I definitely could hear people cheering where you are.
Yes, people are cheering, people are happy, people are outside of their cars, supporting the movement, honking their horns as we continue down the road. The crowd is moving towards Jack London Square, and the crowd is specifically saying, whose street? Our street. I'll let you listen in for a minute, Kate.
So you can hear the protesters now.
So that's what's going on here, if you can hear.
We can hear you. Thank you so much for calling in, Jobina. We so appreciate everything that you're reporting from the ground right now. We're seeing protesters, just so you know what we're seeing from the sky, sort of move in different directions. And at one intersection, it appeared that there was actually a blue car in the middle of the intersection. And there were some protesters and perhaps some police officers. Have you seen any police officers? What have you seen them doing? How have the interactions been between them and the crowd?
I have not. If your question was if I have seen police officers, I have not. From where I am, I have not seen any officers yet. I see a news crew that we just passed, but for the most part, I've just been seeing demonstrators out here. So I can definitely let you guys know if I see that. But as of now, no, I have not.
And Jobina, it looks just like a pretty well-dispersed crowd covering several blocks now of downtown Oakland. You can see that there's no traffic moving through the streets where the protesters are located. We've got Sky 7. You can see over about half a dozen black and white, some squad cars over closer to the freeway. And then right here in this intersection in the crosswalk, we see several dozen officers lined up in their tactical gear. There's some protesters several feet away. And it does look like there's something in the middle of that intersection, a blue car perhaps, and then a few blocks over, another very large group of several hundred protesters moving slowly down the streets. As Jobina has been with us on the phone, she's saying that people are positive, that they're chanting, that they're cheering, that it's been very peaceful on the ground, and that's what we've been able to observe, at least from a distance from our Sky 7 aerials right now. But it does appear that, sort of like what happened in San Jose, perhaps, that the protesters are starting to move in different directions, that not everyone is marching in the same direction, which can be complicated when it comes to dispersing the crowds, making sure that everyone stays safe, and of course, where the police are positioned. So we so appreciate everyone who's been helping with this coverage. This all started here in the Bay Area anyway, around 2:30 this afternoon in San Jose, when there were protesters on Highway 101. It started off as a peaceful protest, then it did start to escalate later on in the evening. Several people were arrested. Police were marching through the streets of downtown San Jose, firing off flashbangs, and we had our reporter Dan Noyes out there on the ground marching through the streets for blocks, showing us exactly what happened. We, of course, knew through social media that there was this protest that you're seeing now live from Sky 7 planned in Oakland that started at 8 o'clock in front of City Hall, and that's exactly what we're seeing unfold now, 45 minutes later. And there was a group actually even gathered earlier. ABC 7 News anchor Eric Thomas was out in the 6 o'clock hour in downtown Oakland, and there was already a crowd gathered very peacefully in downtown Oakland, and now you can see the crowd is quickly grown and is moving through the streets of Oakland. We see sort of one group. Jobina, I understand that you're still with us. Are you seeing anything different on the ground now? Are you seeing the crowd move in a different direction?
No, still the crowd that I have been walking alongside that started at 14th and Broadway has now reached 7th Street, making their way all the way down and turning the corner here. With the same vibe, Kate. Just a lot of chanting, a lot of people passionate about the message, wanting to make sure that it is clear, that it is not, things aren't distracting from the goal of the demonstration tonight. Traffic was stopped, but it looked like a lot of the drivers were in support of what was happening here too. Again, opening their doors, honking the horn. The crowd is really making the way through Chinatown right now, Oakland's Chinatown, kind of coming to a stop right now at 7th and Franklin, and cheering, coming around the corner. A lot of people are stopping or starting to stop, so it looks like someone may be speaking in a moment, but that's what I'm seeing here.
Okay. Hey, Jobina, it's Dan, back on with you. A question, is anyone there that you've been interacting with or speaking with aware? Clearly, it sounds like protesters there so far want to keep things very positive and constructive. Are they aware of what's happened in San Jose today? Do you know?
I am not clear on that, Dan, because San Jose, as we well know, has had a different experience tonight. I know just from friends, people that have been commenting on it, were a bit thrown in some ways about what we saw. But again, I don't think anyone is surprised by the reaction.
Gotcha.
And I think the hope is that that won't happen here, and that the message will just continue to come without there being any sort of destruction, of course, or injuries. We don't want anyone getting hurt. But yeah, I am not clear on that, Dan, but that's a very good question.
Yeah, just curious if they're aware of what's happened elsewhere, because it's certainly encouraging to see what's happening there in Oakland tonight in terms of just First Amendment expression and protest without any great problem. Where are you exactly now, Jobina? Forgive me. What do you know? Can you?
I am at 7th and Broadway.
7th and Broadway.
Coming up on 7th and Broadway at the corner here, which is near the police department, as you all know, the Oakland Police Department. The crowd has stopped here, and I now see police officers. They are several feet ahead here, and the crowd has officially stopped where the officers are.
Well, and Jobina, I know you said you were at 7th and Franklin. We're now getting word that police are actually shutting down the Webster on-ramp to 880 right now. And on Sky 7 right now, we're seeing some activity, perhaps it's getting dark, so frankly, it's getting hard to tell. We see some police officers in tactical gear and some protesters farther down the street. Are you seeing any of that?
So, yes. Okay, where I am is 7th and Broadway, which is where you can see the police department, as well as for people that are familiar with downtown Oakland, where the Have a Heart dispensary is as well. And there are police officers here. People have stopped.
Because they were expecting protests, and because we also had the huge rally where President Trump was here, and they were expecting protests then, so they all had to go through this riot training. So the officers have been going through all of this for the last year, so they were very well prepared for this situation. So that's what's happening here in downtown Dallas, and as soon as I hear more from my sources, I will let you know. That's what we're hearing right now.
Sky 7 has sort of zoomed in, Jobina, and we see about 4 officers in that off-ramp right now, sort of, as you say, making sure that cars don't come off the freeway.
Oh, you saw another grenade just go off. Well, that's a stun grenade. I'm sorry.
But where the banner was.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure police want to protect both the on and off ramps. They don't want cars coming off the freeway. And then, of course, what we saw in San Jose earlier with protesters on the freeway, they might be trying to avoid that situation.
Yeah, and you can see, as we can see from Sky 7, Kate, you can see a smattering of police in different locations, sort of strategically placed. We see some protesters on the run now, moving very rapidly underneath the, adjacent to the freeway. We don't know, obviously, where they're going or what they're up to, but they're moving very quickly at this point. You can see on the far right-hand side of your screen as they turn the corner there, directly beside the freeway, a lot of protesters moving quickly down the street.
Well, and Dan, again, it looks like some traffic got caught inadvertently in this protest. As those...
Yeah, and they seem to be, Kate, unless I'm wrong, they have been left alone. No problems for those drivers other than the inconvenience. Protesters haven't bothered them. But as anyone can understand, probably intimidating to be in your car and see a bunch of protesters around you, not sure what the intention is or how long you're going to be stuck there. But so far, no problems in that regard.
And I'm getting some new notes now that police are shutting down the Jackson Street on-ramp to 880 northbound, and that the CHP is calling in reinforcement to keep the protesters off the freeway in Oakland, which is what I suspected, since that's what we saw earlier on Highway 101 in San Jose. I'm also hearing now that they're trying to get on the 5th Street off-ramp. This is the Jackson Street exit on southbound 880. I think Jobina was having a hard time hearing with us, so she just hung up. But it was great to hear from her as she marched alongside the protesters, who she says were remaining very peaceful, just trying to make sure that their protest stayed on message. Dan, it looks like we've got protesters now on 880.
Yeah, man.
We've got people on the freeway. We've got traffic screeching to a halt. A very dangerous situation right now as people move across those lanes of the freeway. The protest obviously moved onto the freeway, which it looks like the police and CHP were trying to avoid, and now traffic is stopped.
Well, this is exactly what we saw today on southbound 101 at Alum Rock in San Jose, with one big exception, Kate, and that was it was daytime. Far more dangerous.
This just makes me so nervous seeing those people.
Far more concerning to see people do this in the middle of the night when it's dark and drivers may not see them. And you see a driver there on the right scooting through, just narrowly missing people in the street. So this is much more dangerous. It's always dangerous, but much more dangerous than we saw on 101 when it was daylight.
Right. I mean, it's dark, and you even see it's dark for our helicopter, and thank goodness those cars stopped in time, because that traffic was moving very quickly when people hopped over that divider onto the other side of the freeway. So now you can see 880 traffic is stopped completely in both directions as the protesters pour onto the freeway from the streets of downtown Oakland, Dan. Boy.
Yeah, and they have stopped traffic, and we will see when and if police decide to respond to that particular spot on 880. and how long they allow the protesters to stay there. In San Jose, it was about an hour that they shut down the southbound direction of 101. And so we will see. But at least if there's a bit of good news here, the cars are stopped. You know, the protesters are in the street and no one's likely to get hit. When they first rushed out on the street, you're right, Kate, makes you terribly nervous. You see somebody there take a moment and zip through, which is, you can understand their frustration wanting to get out of harm's way, but it's also very dangerous.
A very dangerous situation in general here right now, unfolding as about almost an hour after this protest officially started. They gathered a group of several hundred people peacefully in front of City Hall, and then at about 8:20 they started moving through the streets. This car is just weaving through that crowd of people.
And we saw, I don't know if you saw, Kate, but somebody was trying to hit it from behind as it went by, obviously angry and agitated that they were getting through the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that happen in San Jose earlier when traffic was stopped on Highway 101 and someone came through with some sort of tool and smashed some of the rear windshields of cars there earlier in San Jose. We see, what does it look like? 4 cars there, 5 cars, 6, a whole line of traffic stopped on 880 right now as those protesters gather in an even larger group on
through Deep Ellum, and they're saying that they have busted out some windows of some businesses in Deep Ellum. Also, there was some busted out windows on Commerce Street, and then we also saw some of the squad cars that were damaged. They were puncturing tires, and they had one of the SWAT vehicles that got spray painted. It looked like one of the SWAT vehicles. It's one of the vehicles that goes out with SWAT, not one of the armored vehicles. In fact, that armored vehicle is still here, and you can see the officers. They've been standing here now for a couple of hours, or at least an hour, just kind of holding the line, and they have been all over the loudspeakers telling people to disperse or you will be arrested. But pretty much everyone is gone from this area. But I think that what they're doing, and I'm being told what they're doing right now, is this is kind of a staging area now. They're moving, I just heard them say they're moving the SWAT vehicle to Deep Ellum. So this is kind of where they're staging, but they're about to deploy this set of officers, and the SWAT team is definitely headed to that area in Deep Ellum where they believe that there are some businesses that are being damaged. You can see also right here, the squad cars are leaving. You see the crime response teams preparing, it looks like, also to leave. You can see that they're running with their lights and sirens, a couple of squad cars going a little fast. That is because they need to get down to the Deep Ellum area, where I'm told that there is some property damage going on, some businesses that are getting windows busted out, and they're trying to disperse that crowd that's going through that area. Again, they're following several groups of protesters right now, and that SWAT vehicle is headed in that direction. And we also know that a 7-Eleven was looted. So that's what's going on here in downtown Dallas at this time. Back to you, Marie.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you for that update. Our Teresa Woodard was involved in a bit of a crowd as they were moving around outside DPD headquarters. She has gotten to a safer space, so we want to check in with her now. Really, Teresa, you're in one of those areas where a big group has come together as this crowd has broken up and continued to move all night.
Yeah, you're right, Marie. This has sort of become the meeting point, it feels like, for a lot of people who were marching through downtown Dallas. They started here, and now it feels like this is where they kind of plan to make their end to the night. It did seem a little chaotic earlier when we were live on television, but I want to reassure everybody it's no problem. Everything.
Replay itself here. As time goes on, tempers flare. People in traffic get frustrated that they're sitting in traffic. Protesters get more and more agitated, and the police do as well. And that's why you want to try to diffuse these things as quickly as you can, because the longer it goes on, the more likely it is that someone says something, throws a punch, throws a bottle, a police officer does something they shouldn't, and the next thing you know, things erupt in a way that everyone hopes to avoid.
And Dan, now they're gathered, the protesters are gathered on the edge of the freeway on an overpass, it looks like, and they're holding up their signs. It looks like they might be cheering at other protesters that are on the street below them.
Yeah, that could be the case, Katie. You're right. If you look between the two road beds, there may be some people underneath, or they're just, yeah, there are some people. You're absolutely right. There's some people underneath that overpass there. Now, to where they may not have any idea where they're going. You know, they may not even know. Looks like people have lit some flares, some road flares, in the crowd, and you know, they may not even be aware of what their plan is. You know.
Absolutely. Again, well, you can see the crowd is moving, but they got on at Jackson Street in downtown Oakland, and you can see traffic is at least starting to move on one side, although it's moving, and it's, Dan, you know this is making me nervous. It's moving, and there's more protesters coming onto the freeway. Yeah. So you also have to wonder, are all the drivers aware of what's going on in front of them? It's not something you usually expect to see people pop up in the middle of a freeway.
No, and you're right, it is nerve-wracking, isn't it, Kate, to watch. You just hope everyone is safe. Last thing we want is anybody hurt. Oh, now somebody throwing a flare down at, looks like the police officers below. And we understand, by the way, the 12th Street BART station, BART trains are not stopping. Of course, there haven't been many people on BART trains during this shutdown, so it's not affecting a lot of BART commuters certainly at this time of day and in this time.
Gather in an even larger group.
Throws a punch, throws a bottle, a police officer does something they shouldn't.
Putting up their signs, it looks like they might be cheering at other protesters that are on the south of the freeway right now.
People in traffic get frustrated that they're sitting in traffic. Protesters get more and more agitated, and the police do as well. And that's why you want to try to diffuse these things as quickly as you can, because the longer it goes on, the more likely it is that someone says something, throws a punch, throws a bottle, a police officer does something they shouldn't. And next thing you know, things erupt in a way that is safe. Last thing we want is anybody hurt. Oh, now somebody throwing a flare down at, looks like the police officers below. And we understand, by the way, the 12th Street BART station, BART trains are not stopping. Of course, there haven't been many people on BART trains during this shutdown, so it's not affecting a lot of BART commuters certainly at this time of day and in this time in our lives where BART has been down about 95% ridership. So the trains aren't stopping at the 12th Street station, but there are probably very few passengers on BART anyway. But you saw the flare. It looked like he threw the flare down to the next level at the police.
And then something sort of spun around, and you can see the Oakland Fire Department is arriving right now, obviously, to try and check on that and see what's going on. And then as that happened, protesters were moving back onto the other side of the freeway right there. As cars are still moving and stopping.
Mm-hmm. Some on bicycles, as you can see, some on foot.
We haven't seen, which is what we saw in San Jose earlier, besides the one protester banging on the back of the cop car, anyone, approach any of these cars that are stopped in traffic.
Yeah, which is a good thing. It's a good point,
yes.
Kate. We have not seen, and you know, one hopes that no driver shouts out anything or a protester shouts something and instigates something that ends up ending badly. But so far, they're just walking past the cars and leaving them alone, we think. Although these folks are getting awfully close to this car.
Someone right there in the middle of the screen on the upper left looked like they had a flare.
Yeah, that is a road flare. Exactly right, that you keep in the back of your car in case.
And then look at this right there on the on-ramp. It's a whole line of police cars flashing their lights. And then below them, the rest of the protesters on the streets moving through traffic towards the freeway, perhaps hopefully they'll stay off of it for the safety of everyone.
You see an Amazon truck, very much in demand these days, the last 2 months, everybody ordering online. Those deliveries may be late.
Well, and that's what makes this whole night so incredible, is that we've all been sheltering in place. We've all been sort of in this pandemic together. And what happened in Minneapolis really set off a nationwide firestorm of anger.
And I think you and I talked about this, Kate. It's a great point. There's pent-up fear, anxiety. People have been restless. They've been cooped up for 2 months. Many have lost their jobs. There's economic stress. They haven't been able to do much. And then this incident involving George Floyd, this tragedy in Minneapolis, reignites that deep racial divide and that those feelings that have not gone away, but the last 2 months seem to have been subdued by the current crisis. And now it explodes across the country into acts of frustration and anger and disgust at a problem that America hasn't been able to shake.
Absolutely. And even though we have all been in this pandemic together, it certainly hasn't treated everyone equally. We know that minority communities have been hit particularly hard by COVID, both the African American community and the Latino community here in the U.S. have really seen high rates, both of the virus and death rates. So,
very good point.
While we have been in this pandemic together, we haven't really all been feeling it in the same way. And then, as you say, the tragedy in Minneapolis with George Floyd just obviously hit a nerve with so many people across the country. And we're seeing that play out here in the Bay Area, but also in New York, in Washington, D.C., in Atlanta, of course, in Minneapolis. We've seen incredible protests.
I think one in Tennessee today, if I'm not mistaken, a number of different places. There have been very, very spirited and in some cases violent protests. But it just all, Kate, reflects the deep division over race and the treatment that so many believe of African Americans by police in this country. And we want to point out, you know, most of the time, most police officers are good and decent people and work very hard. But there's always a few, and things happen. But there is this sense that there's some systemic unfairness.
Absolutely.
And it sort of manifests itself in incidents like we saw with George Floyd.
Absolutely. And right now you're looking at live pictures from Sky 7 of protesters blocking Interstate 880. Just about, 20 minutes ago, they moved from the streets of downtown, jumped on the freeway while traffic was moving very quickly, narrowly missing cars. And you can see they've stopped cars. They've stopped a big rig just moments ago. We saw people standing in front of that truck with signs. And there they are, a very large crowd blocking all of traffic, so much so that it doesn't even look like those, I don't know if they're CHP or Oakland PD cars on that on-ramp. They're not even moving right now, and protesters are on both sides of the freeway, holding signs up, making sure that their message, their frustration about what's going on in this country is heard and seen. Not just by people on the freeway, but of course we've got our news helicopter overhead, and we've got people tuning in, and people are listening. People are seeing this.
Well, and as people are seeing this, absolutely, and they will see it not just here, but around the country. You know, as we have seen protests, and we've shown them on our air around the country, other places in this country will see the protests that took place today in San Jose and Oakland and understand that there is a sense of that common outrage and that common solidarity over this issue. One thing that we've seen here in Oakland, we certainly saw in San Jose, which I think, you know, we said over the last couple of months, we're in this together, right, with the coronavirus. Yeah. What we saw in San Jose today, and here in Oakland too, from what I've seen, a very interesting, diverse group of people taking to the streets. This is not just an African American issue. It may affect them disproportionately, but we saw African Americans, white people, Asian folks, Hispanic folks, young people, looked like teens, early 20s, and I saw several middle-aged folks out there in San Jose, particularly today. It was a little dark for me to identify folks more specifically in Oakland, but this evening. But we saw a mix of people demonstrating that sense that, hey, we're all in this together, and this is a problem that all of us have to solve.
Well, and that's what Dan Noyes was saying in San Jose, that it was a diverse crowd marching through the streets there. He and Alex Gray did such a fantastic job for hours, taking us through, being our eyes and ears on the ground in San Jose as the crowd moved through those streets. And now here in Oakland, this protest started just over an hour ago now at 8 o'clock in front of City Hall at Frank Ogawa Plaza. And within about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, moved onto the freeway where it's been for the past 15, 20 minutes or so. Those protesters are moving closer to that Safeway Big Rig. Dan, it looks like someone's climbing on the hood of the truck. It looks like several people are up there protesting. Probably a scary moment for that truck driver, I imagine. I imagine really for all of the people in their cars who inadvertently got stuck in this protest. And I imagine very surprised to see this in front of them on the freeway.
Very surprised, and it's frightening. I'm
yeah.
sure whenever you're in a crowd of people and you're not sure what's going to happen, you feel a little helpless. The truck driver, wisely at this point, seeming to stay in the car. And of course, protesting was one thing, vandalizing or terrorizing people or something else that people will react to. But this truck driver seems to be staying pretty calm at the moment. But, you know, this always seems to happen, doesn't it, Kate? even, rushing on the freeway, stopping traffic, that's one thing. But there always seems to be, in these things that we've seen over the years, a few people that decide we're going to take it to the next level. Maybe a driver, somebody says something, somehow it gets escalated. And here we see an example of people deciding, you know what, just stopping traffic isn't enough. Let's start climbing on vehicles.
Well, absolutely. And I wonder also, do they have anywhere else to go? So are they just standing on the freeway? Because now we saw that police were blocking the on-ramp. I'm not sure where these protesters move unless they go back where they came from, in the other direction where we saw those police cars. There's a group of people linking arms there.
Now, what are we, yeah.
And as the police are moving onto the freeway, it looks like the protesters are linking arms and moving closer.
Are the police stopping or continuing? It's hard to say.
Well, so now we see a protester holding on to the front of a police car, an SUV, as it tries to move forward through the freeway. They're moving on, Dan.
Yeah. Maybe going to the next exit ramp.
Maybe, and I wonder if that's the protesters' intention, to stay there and just block traffic, or if they're going to move farther down the freeway. We saw them on the cabs of those two trucks a moment ago, and you can see that traffic is still blocked in both lanes. Again, this is Interstate 880 in downtown Oakland. This started at the Jackson Street on-ramp, and now protesters have moved a little bit farther down the freeway. You can see traffic still trying to move through. Dan, it looks like there's some sort of first responder vehicle right there that the crowd of protesters is crowding on the on-ramp. It looks like an ambulance. It's hard to tell. It is, of course, dark now, which is, a different element to this protest than we saw earlier in Oakland. And then, of course, in San Jose, it was bright daylight.
I think you're right. It is an ambulance. And, presumably, let's let that ambulance go wherever it needs to go and help whoever it's supposed to go help. A lot of people on the freeway. I mean, as you can see, and as Sky 7 pulls back, you can see the impact on traffic on 880, no surprise. But that freeway, even in this time period of shutdown, it's very, very crowded. Okay, and even in this period where traffic is minimal compared to what it usually is around the Bay Area, traffic backs up very quickly when the freeway is shut down. And there are several hundred people out on the freeway now. We've seen, as you saw with us, folks climbing on that semi-truck, on the cab of the semi-truck, probably 5 or 6 people. Looks like they've gotten off the car now, the truck. And let's see as we pan. Still, no police presence up there. I don't see any, from what I can tell, police presence there. But there are a great number of protesters, some on bicycles, some carrying signs, some carrying lit flares, the kind of flare you'd keep in the back of your car for a tire emergency or a breakdown of some kind. We've seen them lighting those traffic flares. And, Kate, you were saying, and I agree with you completely, it makes you nervous to see people. It made me nervous watching that protester putting his hands on the brush bar of that police vehicle, standing in front of it as the officer tried to get by. It takes a moment for him to trip and fall backwards and hit his head and be seriously injured, or the officer to run him over. It always makes you nervous when moving cars around groups of people like that.
Been arrested. One person possibly shot. We're working to confirm that as well. And that was caught live on camera. Jessica, you were right there, just feet away. We know that.
We also got 106 and 145 on the mall.
QD 569, I'll head out front and meet squads.
Copy.
Strike 17, disregard.
Main source is headed this way.
569, you can disregard.
You got a few coming from the outlet.
Strike 5, who gave the description of the male walking east on Union?
No, it's only about a group of 8 cars, but they're pretty packed.
1327, that's the guy that walked right by our squads when we pulled up here.
Yeah, do your best. Follow them out.
Sorry, tonight.
Then why don't you guys sit tight and just keep trolling the ball.
Straight 27. That is the person that walked right by our squad when we pulled up. And shortly after we got out is when they were saying that the guy walking eastbound on Uni was a lookout.
Whoa, 6 seconds.
1990, that one walking, we do not have make an entry in the pawn shop, but definitely out past curfew.
Go ahead for 2601.
We're walking from the pawn shop to not make entry, but it's out past curfew.
If we can have that LVAD ready to go as soon as we make contact or establish our line.
310, I copy or not to that call. 2314.
Good copy.
Has left, and the party that's on is not able to get him to leave. Male party broke in a window and took items. Party's going to be a 20-year-old male.
And good evening to you, Dan Ashley, along with Kate Larson, with you, continuing live coverage. We've been on our Kate Larson with
but we also haven't seen the police officers, for example.
Larson with you, continuing Larson today.
In the Bay Area, first in San Jose. It started around 2:30 this afternoon on Highway 101. It started off peaceful, but then it did escalate.
Does not know at
to
this time if City Hall is secured. So they don't know if the protesters are somehow going to be able to get in there. So they are deploying resources to City Hall to make sure that everything is secure and that the people won't be able to get in there. Again, that's going to be LA City Hall. That is where the mayor of LA, Eric Garcetti, has his office. It is an iconic building here in downtown. They want to protect it, make sure it doesn't get damaged in any way. At this point, they don't know. The LAPD doesn't know if these protesters can get in there, but they're definitely on the steps right now, just on the west side of the building, just off of Spring Street. Again, this is going to be on the steps of City Hall. This is the west side of the building, the Spring Street side, just north of First. There's a park just on the west side of the building, and that is where we see all of these officers assembling. You see them moving in right now. And you actually see some of the protesters moving the barricades to put those barricades between them and the officers.
But things have been peaceful.
You see how many officers arrived on scene now. I heard them say over the scanner they didn't know whether the protesters would be able to enter City Hall and enter the building, so they try to get as many officers over here as possible to keep the protesters back.
Move back, move back, move back, move back, move back, move back.
west.
Hey, look over here. I can only give it to y'all for a second. I can only give it to y'all for a second. Look at this.
Order right now
Look, y'all got shit going on back there. Look,
even though their shift may have ended at 6 o'clock today, let's say, they can't go home until that countywide tactical alert is lifted. So for that reason, the LAPD has a lot more officers at their disposal than they are used to during a regular shift. And then we also have the CHP assisting in their own way, helping with all of the traffic control off and on the freeway. The 110 freeway has been heavily impacted because of today's protest. Again, they are asking for not only an end to police brutality in general, but just justice for the death of George Floyd, a 46-year-old African-American man who died in an altercation with police in Minneapolis, Minnesota, after allegedly attempting to use a fake $20 bill. That happened days ago, and every night since, essentially, we have had protests here, not only in Los Angeles, but throughout the country, especially, of course,
your eyes is flickering. I'm here for no harm, no ill intent. I want to know why you doing this.
Over the last few days here, though,
why are you doing this, man?
seen, protesters.
Come on, man. When you wake up tomorrow morning, you need to turn that badge in, man. I know you're not feeling this shit. You need to turn that badge in, man. Say, you know what? I'm done with this shit, man. Shit I did in Seattle last night, that shit was crazy. You on real news, brother. You on real news right now. I know CNN, not the local news here in Seattle. This is the real uncut, unchopped, real shit delivered
right now, because the whole country is going to agree with them.
Yeah.
Like, this was a horrendous act. So don't take the political power that you have to create real change, not just political change, but cultural change. In a moment, the whole country is going to see. Don't let other actors come in and undermine it by busting up a food line. There's no reason for that. That doesn't help anything.
How do you think this, what does this say about, or does it say anything about Charlotte, that this is the way that we've responded, and given, you know, the history that we've had, the recent history that we've had, and everything that happened in 2016 with a huge protest in uptown Charlotte? Is there a message that, or is there anything that we can take from this? Because there will be lots of discussions. There will be, you know, there will be panels. There will be stories that we do. There will be lots of topics following this, I'm sure. From your point of view, and I know it's early in the process, but what do you think the takeaway is?
We, after Keith Lamont Scott in Charlotte, you're absolutely right. We had a moment of introspection. We had a number of discussions. We had think tanks come in and say what we should do, and then there just wasn't the follow-through on enough action items. We did take pretty good action, and the city council's been good with affordable housing.
You must be talking about him right here. Hey, what's up? What up? Hey man, y'all make sure y'all continue going ahead and subscribe. Go subscribe. If you have not subscribed, man, y'all make sure y'all subscribe.
8 hours all day. Ain't nobody doing
Humans. Like, there was a point where whites were considered humans back when we colonized Africa.
What you guys as a human, first off, you guys is worth bringing to the table. Does that make sense?
Hey, can you just pause this real quick for a second? Hold on 1 second. Did you see what's going on over here? Or?
I have no clue.
Sorry, I just want to see this real quick. Hold on, we'll get back to that in a second, okay? Yeah. What happened? Hey man, what happened? What are they doing with this over here? Nothing. You have no idea. Okay. Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure they weren't doing no bullshit. You know what I'm trying to say? All right, we can get back. Sorry about that, Just. I want to make sure they weren't doing no
having bullshit. to do with our history and zoning. It was not an accident that this city was made to be very difficult for low-income people and people of color to have a safe, secure place to live. It just wasn't an accident. It's a product of our history, and you're going to see events like we see tonight come as a direct result.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a very comprehensive issue just under the belly of what we're seeing. This is literally the tip of the iceberg, this protest, given the conversations I've had with all of the community leaders this evening during our coverage. Senator Jeff Jackson, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and shed some insight onto some of the deeper issues of what this means for Charlotte. Thank you so much.
We've been working with them. We are the mutual aid coordinator for Bay Area law enforcement, so we do this quite a bit over the last several years. So we coordinate, but we have a mobile field force of officers out in Oakland now, and we'll be, depending on how the tempo goes, we're ready to bring in more officers as needed.
How many officers, Sergeant, how many officers roughly are available in a situation like this?
You know, go out there to make sure that we can try to keep things peaceful and as civil as possible.
It's Sergeant Kelly. Thanks for joining us. This is Kate Larson. We saw OPD out about an hour ago on the streets of downtown Oakland. We saw the CHP, of course, doing what they could to keep the protesters off the freeway. Of course, the protesters were on 880, blocking both lanes for
works being thrown at police. Being a police officer is never an easy job. Becomes much more difficult, doesn't it, after an incident like we saw in Minneapolis? Talk a little bit about the challenges that something like that create for law enforcement everywhere.
Well, what happened in Minneapolis is that one incident anywhere in the country has this gigantic ripple effect. And it doesn't matter what patch you have on your arm or what city you're from. It's the fact that you wear a badge that you represent. In this case, something horrendous that happened to a member of the community. So that sometimes is difficult when you know in your community that you're doing a good job, that you're giving your all, and then your profession as a whole gets labeled for the act of one bad person that does something outrageous. And so all of our officers, many of us who have dedicated our entire lives to community service, these hurt. It definitely hurts, and you feel like you have to start over and rebuild that public trust every time something like this happens. And we make tremendous strides in law enforcement to be transparent, to be community engaged, and investing in our communities. And so when these things happen, it actually really hurts your heart in a way that is hard to explain unless you've done this job and cared for your community and been there for your
I think it's true is
the later it gets.
The other thing is true is Ahmaud was actually arrested in 2017 again. So
and you're under the cover of darkness. So
what?
I want your YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. It's called.
Give a shout out.
Give a shout. You want a shout out?
Shout out to
No, because you know what you're
my
gonna do. You're gonna go tell all your little gaggle,
Again,
your gaggle of
these
friends that you just be like,
situations so quickly, just
gaggle
like
means like,
everyone ran over the freeway.
it's
There were a group of several hundred people in front of OPD. There was a confrontation of some sort, and then all of a sudden, very quickly, the crowds dispersed and ran down